It's the start to a brand new week and we're up and away. It's a Monday morning. My name is Benjamin Akapo. Welcome aboard. Now, you know, over these next 4 hours, we're going to be delivering scintillating content. So stick and stay, let your seatbelt be locked tight, and let's take you for a ride. Thank you for joining us. In a bit, we'll serve you the AM news, followed by the news review, and those who join us. Oh, let me just say this. As part of the news, we'll be serving you sports as well. And I was just sharing with my backroom crew that if I were a betting man, I would have won big over the weekend, but I'm not. I'll tell you about that later when it's time for sports. But for the news review, we have Vicky Bright, legal practitioner and entrepreneur, Mustafa Gbande, Deputy General Secretary of the NDC and Deputy Director of Operations at the Presidency. We also have James Kobna Bomfe Jr., PhD, of course, CEO of Census and lecturer at the UPSA. And then we get into our big stories. Now, number one on the chopping board. The Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, GTEC as we call them, is to take legal action against all of those using honorary doctorates or degrees and professorship titles in the public. They say the practice is unethical, it's deceitful, and it tends to dilute the integrity of the higher education system. Why do these people even use them? That's one question. We'll be hearing from them on why this new initiative has come to the fore. But also coming up, we'll be talking about the economy. The Economic Fighters League has waded into the energy sector levy of 1 Ghana cedi per 1 litre, and that controversy, condemning government's decision and calling it a regressive measure that entrenches economic injustice, and also that it's a betrayal of the public's hope for meaningful change. We'll hear from them, as well as the Ghana Revenue Authority, as plans get underway to implement the policy come the 16th of June, 2025. We'll be talking about these matters and more right here on the AM show. That's why you don't want to miss a beat. We're taking a spin. We'll be right back with more. But don't you forget, the AM show is proudly sponsored by Whaley Properties. We provide quality housing at an affordable cost and with a flexible payment option. Once more, welcome aboard. Stick and stay for the news right up next. Well, time now for me to serve you the news. And in our first story, the Central Regional Minister is calling for collaborative efforts devoid of partisan interest to sustain the Green Ghana agenda. Speaking at the commemorative tree planting exercise, which began at the Central Regional Coordinating Council in Cape Coast, the Regional Minister, Ekopinyin Eduamwa Ochre, emphasized the need for individual commitment to the environmental sustainability agenda. He urged Ghanaians to eschew destructive practices that continue to harm the nation's forests. There's more in this report.
The Central Regional Coordinating Council in Cape Coast was one among 3 selected locations at the event held at the Coordinating Council. The Central Regional Minister, Ekopinyin Eduamwa Ochre, advised Ghanaians to be non-partisan and politically neutral in ensuring the success of the Tree for Life initiative.
Let all participate and in taking personal interest in this activity. So it shouldn't be political. It shouldn't be somebody's business. It shouldn't be, an institutional, some institution like Forestry Commission. It should be personal. I think the churches must come on board. Because our practices have been that we are going to plant 1 tree, but by the end of the year, you might have destroyed 200 trees. I can say that if we stop growing trees and begin to protect what we have already, we'll be doing very well than even attempting to spend huge monies to grow trees. Because our destructive activities are so many, and we need to stop that.
Emmanuel Owusun Kwantabisa, the Central Regional Manager of the Forestry Commission, shared details about the exercise in the Central Region.
The targets for the Central Region under the various modules, as I've mentioned, include the establishment of 700 hectares of forest plantation under the modified Tonja system, the distribution of 100,000 seedlings for amenity planting. I would implore all of us, let us come together to grow trees, to restore our forests. Let us come together to grow trees, to restore our degraded lands. And let us come together to grow trees, to restore our water bodies. Let us make the Tree for Life reforestation initiative succeed. Together, we will win.
The Deputy Regional Manager in charge of the Cape Coast Forest District, Nane Fiabrenya Hodibes, appealed to Ghanaians and foreigners to support the cause.
We encourage all Ghanaians or foreign nationals within the country, and especially Central Region, to actively support the planting of seedlings. You can have, we have seedling availability within the premises of the regional and district office of the Central Forestry Commission. You come and then take a seedling and then plant and make sure you nurture it till it grows.
From Cape Coast, Abigail Lissel and Kuma reports for Joy News.
Now, Car Power Ship Ghana, in collaboration with the Forestry Commission and the Ghana Levy, has launched a bold reforestation initiative, planting over 3,000 trees to combat climate change and restore degraded landscapes. Now, the exercise, held in commemoration of World Environment Day, stands as a growing symbol of the country's commitment to environmental sustainability.
Events brought together government officials, corporate partners, and security agencies, all sounding the alarm on the state of Ghana's environment and the urgent need to act.
Ghana stands at a very critical moment with the menace of Galamsey and its unfortunate impact on our environment. Therefore, this year's theme speaks to the urgent task we face as a nation and as a global community, restoring what has been lost, healing what has been harmed, and renewing our commitment to the protection of the natural environment upon which all life depends. Across Ghana, our landscapes bear the marks of deforestation, mining, bushfires, and unsustainable land use. But we are not without hope as a people. Through collective effort, strategic investment, and community engagement, degraded lands can be transformed into productive farms, green belts, water-protecting forests, and thriving ecosystems. Tree planting such as what we are undertaking today is not merely symbolic. It is a declaration of intent. It signifies our resolve to reverse the damage and scourge and then secure the future of generations yet unborn.
Ghana loses thousands of hectares of forest cover each year, but officials say initiatives like Tree for Life programs signal hope. At the heart of the effort is collaboration.
Today is not just ceremonial observance, it is a reaffirmation of our collective responsibility to protect, preserve, and replenish the very environment that sustains us all. At Car Power Ship Ghana, our mission is to deliver power to Ghana, but we firmly believe that true power is only meaningful when it is sustainable. That is why we have embedded environmental stewardship into our social investment, taking deliberate steps over the past 3 years to continue to Ghana's green recovery. We are proud to share that we have planted over 11,000 trees in strategic forest reserve across the country.
A recent report estimates that while 15 billion trees are cut down annually across the globe, only 1.8 billion are replanted. A shortfall, environmentalists warn, is unsustainable.
The theme for the occasion, restoring degraded landscapes, is apt because as a region, we are unfortunately affected by illegal and unsustainable mining, leading to degraded lands in almost every municipality or district. We must embrace the Tree for Life initiative and lead it.
One tree at a time, Ghana is reclaiming its green future. For Joy News, in Athalia Kwansa Takoradi.
Well, from tree planting, let's talk about plastic pollution, which is fast becoming a silent threat to Ghana's mineral wealth, disrupting mining operations, contaminating vital resources, and degrading fragile ecosystems. In Takwa Nsuayim, one of the country's most mineral-rich districts, the plastic menace is intensifying, posing serious risks to both economic productivity and environmental health.
From contaminated water sources to degraded soil quality, plastic waste is choking the ecosystem that sustains mining.
As our municipality is blessed with abundant natural resources, we faced a more urgent and dire situation which calls for immediate action. Hence, we had to initiate action before the national launch. We must therefore rise to the challenge of protecting the environment, or the very environment that sustains us. This critical theme resonates with our collective responsibility to protect the environment. I am thankful to Ghana Goldfields Limited for partnering with the Assembly to host this event. Your commitment to environmental sustainability is commendable, and I use this opportunity to appreciate you today.
Despite being a major contributor to Ghana's mineral economy, Takwenswayem is losing grounds to pollution. Stakeholders are calling for urgent collaboration between companies, communities, and governments.
This is not just pollution, it is an existential crisis, one that demands immediate and collective action. As a leading player in Ghana's mining industry, Goldfields is not aloof about these dangers. We are strategic about our actions to ensure we implement solutions that can sustainably end plastics pollution in our operational areas and our host communities. At our mine, we have implemented a policy aimed at significantly reducing single-use plastics while working towards 100% recycling of plastic waste. This aligns with our commitment to minimize the adverse impact of our activities on the environment and our stakeholders.
To support waste management efforts, Goldfields Ghana Foundation has donated 10 skip containers to the Municipal Assembly as a gesture aimed at reinforcing corporate commitments to environmental sustainability.
In our next story, the Vice-Chancellor of the SD Dombo University, Professor Emmanuel K. Derbele, has urged the public to plant trees to help combat climate change. Speaking at the launch of a campus tree planting initiative in partnership with the Global Shea Alliance, he highlighted the environmental benefits of afforestation. The project aims at planting over 5,000 trees in its first phase, with a long-term target of 70,000. Joy News' Rafiq Salam now reports from WA.
The Simon Diedon Dombo University of Business and Integrated Development Studies, SDDUBETS, with support from the Global Share Alliance, have set out to plant a little over 70,000 tree seedlings to create a forest reserve and green the campus, with a first phase involving 5,000 different tree species to be planted along the campus borders. The tree planting saw a large crowd, including community members around the university, students, and management of the school. Vice Chancellor of SDDUBETS, Professor Emmanuel K. Derbele, was the first to plant the tree, and the rest followed suit. After planting the tree, he gave reasons why they are embarking on such a venture.
First, as you are aware, our land is on both sides of the highway, but we do not have the resources to wall the entire campus, as you are aware. But we need to secure the land for the growth and development of the university. So because of this, we are planting trees, in the buffer zone, but also along the boundaries of the university lands. By so doing, we hope to be able to create a forest belt, around, the university. We are designating certain portions of our land for future development. So, and in the interim, what we have decided to do is to plant some economic trees, like shea in particular. So we are hoping that the Global Shea Alliance, as we working together, would be releasing some both grafted, what are the categories? Conventional and then grafted shea trees, seedlings, which we will plant in these green areas.
Professor Derbele urged Ghanaians to cultivate the habit of tree planting in order to mitigate the impact of climate change. He observed that the response to climate change should be a collective responsibility for all.
We help to either slow down the rate of, the rate at which the world is warming up, and then the other multiplier effects. The other option, policy option, is the adaptation. Is the adaptation bit of it, and the adaptation, as you are aware, issues around livelihoods. It affects farmers, but also now health. When it is very hot, it is warm. You wake up, you don't do anything, and you are already tired. So it is having a negative impact on our lives, and then we all need to appreciate that the response to climate change has to be a collective response.
President of the Students' Representative Council, Festus Kekuofusu, called on the students to ensure that the trees planted are cared for.
This wouldn't all have not to end here. Students should also partake in ensuring that the trees we plant today are catered for, are monitored, such that they will get to the point where they are going to benefit all of us. And so, just as I said, it is so great, and I would admonish our students to join us to ensure that this initiative becomes a success.
Reporting for J News, Rafik Salam. Wow.
Now, there's brewing tension in Ifiduase, a town in the New Drabin traditional area, after armed police officers from the Police Intelligence Department stormed the palace of the Equiase chief, Okatechi Opoku-Oware, in an attempt to take over the palace. This was after the chief of Ifiduase announced that he had destooled the Equiase chief for purported insubordination. Edwin Kofisian has more in this report.
The Ifiduase chief, Okunri Ajumo had accused Okatechi Opoku-Oware of insubordination. He claims the chief had disrespected him by refusing to grant courtesies to his linguist, who was on a mission sanctioned by him. However, the embattled chief claims he is being targeted after opposing the sale of some acres of public cemetery lands where COVID-19 victims were buried.
Aya Fiduase hene baabi aye nyina ye si adehye eye ofoduafo asokorefo Afiduasefo yokofo ye nyina ye si adehye sabi nana mu amani mu a covid ba aye kura eho ne ye si omu nya covid bi aya Fiduase hene ene ne dabra hene ene ne sana hene ena ne chiame akoton sa no ama mia me nana aye franu tawia wakoton sa na nam se mekuase hina no Fiduase a mempene amma baabi a yesie ya de hye sabi wo hene nkonkoton nkodi.
Okatechi Opoku-Oware urged the public to disregard the purported destolment, assuring residents of his determination to protect public lands and resist what he describes as the indiscriminate sale of properties. On Sunday, some police officers acting under the command of Superintendent Eric Jebi reportedly fired gunshots amidst resistance from residents who support the chief's decision to oppose the sale of portions of the land. The Fiduase chief's decision compelled the Equiase Bretu royal family to dismiss the destolment, describing it as unlawful and without basis.
Equiase no enye ade a Fiduase hene asabi Fiduase owa obetimi atumi so what is to me no amani akwaso wonni to me bi ekura ne sa the make catcher Fiduase man ne say sabi me go am to me nye the Fiduase hene ti krom a o ye ni
in Kwame Nyako, head of the Equiase family stool, declared that the Fiduase hene holds no traditional authority to destol their chief.
There is what you are just I mean to not yes, or you may have it. But you are Papa Condola.
Every time the skies darken over Ofanko, a sense of dread washes over the students of the St. Peter's Anglican School, not because of the lightning or thunder, but because they know what follows: water, lots of it, enough to turn their school compound into a pond and their classrooms into islands. My colleague Jacqueline Ansoma has more in this report.
It's just past 3 p.m. Wednesday in Ofanko, St. Peter's Anglican School, and it's quiet. According to some students we met, school had already closed. A few lingered, loitering around the compound. Others could be seen walking slowly home. Earlier that day, it had rained, and like clockwork, the school flooded again. In the center of the school's compound, a large stagnant pool of water sat quietly, stretching across what is supposed to be the playground. The ground beneath was soft and soggy with patches of mud swallowing bits of the once visible pavement. The signs of disruption were all too visible.
So currently I'm at St. Peter's Ofanko School, and what you can see behind me is a pool of water right in the middle of the school. These students, they are unable to even play during school hours. This is right in the middle of the school.
Though the rain had stopped hours ago, the aftershock remained. The school's main pathways were still drenched, making access to some classrooms difficult. In a few spots, water had begun seeping into the base of the classroom blocks. This is not a one-off occurrence. According to residents and some off-camera conversations with students, the school floods almost every time it rains. The playground has become a permanent pond. For years, this has gone on quietly with no intervention, no fix, no official word. But when we tried to film and capture what we saw, we were met with hostility. The assemblywoman for the area confronted us and demanded we stop filming. She insisted we had no right to document what was happening, even though this is a public school and a public issue. Still, what we saw speaks for itself. A basic school where learning must pause anytime it rains. A compound that transforms into a hazard zone. And children, already burdened with the challenges of a stretched public education system, left to navigate yet another crisis alone. It's a story many haven't heard, but for students of St. Peter's Anglican, it is one they live through rain after rain. As another rainy season looms, so that's the question. How long must these children wade through water just to learn? For Joy News, I'm Jacqueline Ansoma Yaboa.
And from there, let's settle now for our business updates. Let me serve you our lone story for this morning as the Executive Director for the Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy, Benjamin Insia, is predicting a boost in gas production in the coming days. This follows an agreement reached between the Government of Ghana, Jubilee and Trinidad Enyenra and Ntome oil fields partners to extend the license covering these areas to 2040. Reacting to the development, Benjamin Insia expressed hope the development would trigger cheaper domestic gas supply.
I think that is what Ghana wants, because if you look at the importation of gas from Nigeria into the production of power, because of the longer chain in terms of distribution or the transportation of these products from Nigeria, sometimes our WACOG becomes very higher. But if we do have the availability of gas locally, it also means that we may not rely on certain emergency fuel that we talk of. So it reduces our WACOG and ensures that end user tariffs becomes cheaper compared to what we're paying today. That is one. But beyond some of these, it is also likely going to push the LPG market to be a very affordable market, because 100% production is likely going to come from domestic sources, either than the 50 we are doing today. And if 100% is coming from domestic sources, what it also means is that the cost of this particular product is going to be cheaper, and that also fuels government agenda of clean cooking energy at the household level. So it is good. Now we are doing about 250 million standard cubic feet a day from the domestic source, with additions from Nigeria to power our thermal plants. And sometimes there are challenges with inflows. But if in future we are likely going to get additional 130 million standard cubic feet per day, it means that it supports our domestic production of power without even needing imports, and also even allows us to even export some to our neighboring countries to get a lot of revenue from these sources.
Well, that's how we cap off the news. But coming your way shortly is sports. And like I was sharing at the start of the show, it was an interesting weekend for me. I was rooting for Coco Gauff. She won at Roland Garros. I was rooting for Carlos Alcaraz, the Murcian. He won. And of course, I was rooting for Portugal. CR7 scored and Portugal won the UEFA Nations Cup. It was exciting for me. But of course, some football action coming your way in sports. Do stay.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to AM Sports here with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. And Bibiani Gold Stars, they are champions of the Ghana Premier League following their victory over Accra Lions on a Sunday. Freeform Mansell's boys ended the season with 63 points, 3 points more than second-place teams, Nations FC and Heart of Lions, securing them success in the Ghana Premier League for the 2024-2025 campaign.
Ball being lost to Foster. Could this be the moment? Foster gets to it, and the goal finally comes. This is what they have been waiting for. Abdul Farouk Amafo. The first comes, and this is what they're waiting for. They just can't be Bibiani. This is why they are here. It's why they came in their numbers today. What a moment. Eligo, you just cannot help feel their joy. McCarthy takes, and that is the second goal. What a way to do it. Apia McCarthy, he has created from that. And Calvin Apong has made it 2 just before the 20th minute. It is 2-0 for Bibiani Gold Stars.
Apia McCarthy, anywhere the ball
stretches to the right. This could be the third. And Foster strikes again. And Atakumi makes it 3. And Samuel Atakumi, right from nowhere, he has risen, plunged and plummeted to make it 3 for Bibiani, 0 for Accra Lions.
Samuel Atakumi, his favorite opponent, Lions, within all the impediment, would find his way to find the back of the net. This 11th of the season for Bibiani.
And that was Frank Amankwa. He had to strike from behind. And they have made it for Bibiani Gold Stars. This is a day to remember. A day to be a bounce back. And a day to enjoy this moment. Daniel.
We got a vigor. And look, it's so interesting from the former 11 Wonders player, Frank Amankwa.
We're some few minutes away. And just check the pass from Kamara.
And that is Frank Amankwa.
Now let's hear from Bibiani Gold Stars head coach Freeform Mansell, who could not hide his excitement following their Ghana Premier League success.
Everybody in the stands is very happy.
You know, the whole town is very happy, and so I am overwhelmed. Coach, well, that would depend on the team itself, how they will put me and where they will want to put me. And for me, the joy of the town makes me so happy because you could see.
And in other results, Kumasi Asante Kotoko lost in their game against Vision FC. They lost by 3-1. Accra House of Folk won their game, which also took place at the Accra Sports Stadium. And Dreams FC also won against Legon Cities. So these are the results on the Ghana Premier League table. House of Folk winning 1-0 against FC Samatex, who were the defending champions, and they've now been replaced by Bibiani Gold Stars as champions. Gold Stars won 4-0 against Accra Lions. These were just the highlights you watched a couple of minutes ago. Dreams FC won 4-1 against Legon Cities. Bechemi United won 1-0 against Young Apostles. Sadiana Stars won 3-1 against Basake Holy Stars. Nations FC were at home and they lost 2-0 to Heart of Lions. Midiama FC also lost 2-1 to Brekum Chelsea, and Asante Kotoko lost 3-1 to Vision FC. So these were the results of matches played on the final day of the Ghana Premier League. Let's do some boxing now. And the Minister of Sports and Recreations, Kofi Adams, has revealed that there was an agreement between the government of Ghana and that of Nigeria to fly the remains of Nigerian boxer Oluwaseun, who died during a fight at the Bukon Boxing Arena. He was speaking on Joy Sports Link.
We never, as a ministry, recommended or ordered the non-evacuation of the boxer's body. 2, the Nigerian authority, the Nigerian High Commissioner, on the very day that we were inaugurating, no, before even we inaugurated the body for this, I had informed him upon my invitation that we were going to do this. And we had agreed that the body can go, and whilst this committee that we are going to put in place will do its work, because after all, it has happened already. However, when somebody dies in a situation that this death occurred, Corona Act kicks in. And so there's a need for an autopsy to be done, not just an ordinary autopsy. This must go through some legal process, and the autopsy have to be endorsed by a court. So the report, the autopsy report, because needed to be endorsed by the court, even delayed the work of the committee by 4 days. So if anybody, including the GBA president, is suggesting that it was because of the committee's work that they have not been able to move the body out of Ghana and to Nigeria, that is false. That is not true.
The GBA president, Abraham Kote Nikwe, was also on the show, and he actually stated that the Ghana Boxing Authority had no idea about a committee that was put together by the Minister of Sports and Recreation to investigate the death of the boxer. He also outlined some plans they've put in place to be able to transport the remains to Nigeria.
The ministry setting up a committee, we are not aware. Get it straight. The chairman of the committee called that we should hold on. We shouldn't get closer to the body.
Okay.
We were not happy. But hey, he's the boss. So he have done it. So we stay away. And that is what I'm saying, that at that point, I am saying that the ministry should have had 2 legs. One looking at how we prepare the body and send it to Nigeria. Then the other one would be like going through the whatever findings they want to find. But after the 2 to 3 months that they spent on their findings, later on we were called back to go and follow up how we can see to move the body to Nigeria. And I speak to you, it wasn't an easy thing, but the Ghana Boxing Authority, we've been able to get all the documents that we should get for the body to move to Nigeria. With me here, I have the certificate for death register. I have the AMA document also here. I have the non-infection certificate, is also with me. I have the Ministry of Interior. So I can tell you that we are finished with all the documents. On Tuesday, the Friday, I went to I think the Thursday, I went to the Nigerian embassy to pick the Afana elector. And then on Tuesday, I'll get that one. Then we'll go to the airlines to pay what we have to pay there. Then probably I will communicate to the Nigeria authority, that is the boxing authority, and know the exact day, because they are also saying that when we finish with all this process, we should inform them. Then they can also prepare and inform the family. So probably next week, by the grace of God, the body will move from here to Lagos,
Nigeria. Okay,
so we have all the documents here.
Very well. Now, in terms of
Hello there, welcome back to the AM show. And the AM show, it's sponsored by Waylead Properties. Now, are you thinking of a rewarding investment you can engage in? Waylead Company Limited is your preferred choice for such investments. Waylead Company Limited is a real estate company with several developments to its credit in Accra. Invest in our new development, Willow Lane, where elegance will meet tranquility in the heart of Accra. We provide quality housing at an affordable cost and also with a flexible payment option. At Waylead Property, we provide you 24-hour security, reliable power supply, and other social amenities to make your stay a memorable one. So go ahead and call them 0240-111-119 or 0504-499-999. You can as well visit them on www.waylead.org. Time now for news review, and this morning I'm joined by Victoria Bright. You know her already, legal practitioner, entrepreneur, and former legal advisor to former President John Kufuor. And that's what James Kobna Bonfe Jr., of course, a doctor, CEO of Census and lecturer at UPSA this morning. A bit later, we'll be joined by Mustafa Bandi if he's able to. But thank you for staying with us here. You're watching the AM show. Gentleman, lady, good morning. How was your weekend?
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Right. Vicky, how was your weekend?
It was good. Yeah,
good?
Good morning, NFA. Thank you for having me.
It was a holiday, so quite a long one well, not for me, but for you. Did you have a good holiday?
Yes, a long one, and I think it's an opportunity to say Eid Adha to friends and family in the Muslim communities and those who believe in Islam. And the important thing to take away from Eid Adha is the sacrifice that the Prophet Abraham, who is also Ibrahim, made by the willingness to give off his son. That eventually wasn't done because the providential God intervened.
Yeah.
And for me, the whole essence of that sacrificial exercise is the readiness to give of oneself,
right,
in service to humanity, in service to nation.
I was quite disappointed. I didn't get any meat. It's always my friends saying that this is not a big one. This is not. This is
no, this is a big one.
It is this one that so drunk. They may have deceived me.
This is where they come.
Victor, did you have a good holiday though?
I did. Yeah, I was actually at the Ashesi graduation class of 2025, and you know it's an amazing institution, and we need to continue to celebrate Ashesi. I want to take this opportunity to congratulate the faculty and staff of Ashesi University and also the visionary leadership of Patrick Ewa as well. These students are doing really amazing things. Some of the inventions are mind-blowing. I would like them to, you know, stay here to contribute. Not when I say here, I mean Ghana and Africa, because Ashesi's vision is to educate ethical leaders for the continent, obviously for our country since it's situated here primarily. So a lot of these students end up in institutions outside, and we need to put more money into research. You know, I also want to extend a heartfelt thanks to the sponsors as well, because Ashesi education is affordable because of the sponsors, in particular the MasterCard Foundation.
Right.
And Rita Roy, who is the global president of MasterCard Foundation, gave an amazing commencement speech as well. So well done, Ashesi.
Well, thank you for starting the conversation just right. Doc, there's so much happening in front of the papers, or any in the papers, but one that has my attention really before we even get into the papers really is the GTEC notice to persons who are using the title doctor indiscriminately. And I'm starting with you because, of course, you hold that title, doctor. I don't know if you have seen that. First, there was a notice first, and then there's been a second one. Before we get into the papers, because it's quite an eventful papers this morning, how do you feel about that call, that notice from GTEC?
Well, I want to start with a statement that Patrick Awa made during the Pearson Osine lectures of 2022.
Okay.
Prempeh College had him to deliver that lecture. And he made a profound statement that good nations are built by virtuous, productive people. Virtuous, productive people who honor discipline, are sincere, are timeous, and above all, they are obedient to their own code of honor, fidelity to the law. There's a process that says you go to school, and when you earn a certain terminal stage, PhD is a terminal degree. Beyond it, every other thing is an honorary rank and what have you. Professor, they are not earned in terms of certain exams. You meet certain criteria, but the terminal degree is a PhD. If you don't have it, why do you have to flaunt it? And I always say that that's a challenge I have when people call you doctor. You see, yes, I hold a PhD, but honestly, is it the title? For me, it's a contribution to knowledge that matters most. And for anybody who has gone through the process to complete a PhD, the first thing is that you have a thesis to show. And in your thesis, it only could have passed because you made a phenomenal contribution to the world of knowledge. You filled the gap, you identified the gap, and you are bringing a niche that will help in the development of knowledge, understanding, and the development of humanity, whether it is in the physical sciences, in the humanities, or the social sciences, whatever it is. So GTEC is a body that is supposed to regulate these things. And it is not only the rank of the academic qualification that suffers. Last week we were discussing about a quack doctor, medic. We have quack lawyers.
Right.
We have quack journalists, engineers, claiming what they are not, pastors. And the last time I heard Dr. Otabil say something that, Mensa Otabil, he said something that if you want to be a minister in the profession of theological work,
right,
go to school, be trained.
Doc, hold that thought. I'll come to you. We'll pick up from this place because I can see the passion that's beaming from this particular topic. But I'll come to you, Victoria. And before I come back to Doc, Victoria, I think I've said it. Have you? I seem to be enjoying where you're going. Victoria, but really, Doc said something profound. I didn't want to lose my train of thought, so that's why I told him to hold on for me. But should we fault the career of that title or the person that is honoring the people with the title? And really, at what point should we say that, well, because the one that goes to school to earn that terminal title went through a process, there must be a way we can differentiate the titles. At least we're already struggling with the medical doctor title, plus the those have gone to the other one, I should say, if I'm not getting the perfect word for it. So who should we fault? The career or the person that is honoring these people?
You know, MFR, for me, is very simple. You know, in the West, when you're given an honorary doctorate, you don't use the title.
Oh, right.
So that's how we differentiate. So all those who are doctor this, doctor that, who have earned it through an honorary conferment, you should stop using the title, because that is not, you're not supposed to use the title. It's just something to honor you. When you go to the outside Ghana or Africa, I don't know anybody who has gained an honorary doctorate who is boldly fronting, you know, themselves, calling themselves doctor this or doctor that. You are not. It's just an honorary degree. And of course, we respect that, because you have been, there's a reason that that institution deemed you fit enough to confer that title on you. But that does not put you on par with somebody who has spent 3 to 5 years of their lives, you know, researching a topic and contributing to knowledge, you know, in this world, in a certain field. So they should stop using it. That's how you differentiate it.
Right. Is that simple, Doc? Is it that simple? But I mean,
but we love titles here. I mean, we love that whole pretense. I mean, you know, as my friend was saying here, you know, last week we were talking about a quack doctor who was actually having the effrontery to sit on TV and tell us how to live our lives.
Yeah.
Give us medical advice.
Yeah.
You know, so we have to stop certain things in this country. You know, we have to stop. And I've always said that we keep celebrating mediocrity. We keep celebrating things that we shouldn't be celebrating. And this is one of them. Yes, if you've been conferred an honorary doctorate degree, it's fantastic. And we commend you for it. And the institution has, for whatever reason, deemed you fit. But you should stop using the title. It's not on par with somebody who has been through the process. You know, nobody uses it in the West.
Doug, well, then why are we even honoring them with the word title? Why not anything else? Why can't we just honor you with a plug or something that when you enter your room you can see? And what really, how did this start? What's the real purpose? To encourage them for what they've been contributing to the society, or what? Must it be a doctorate?
You see, there's a whole literature on the genesis of PhD honoris causa.
Okay.
That's the honorary PhD. And mind you, I think I made a point earlier that the Doctor of Philosophy actually is a terminal degree that makes you a philosopher.
Right.
And you're supposed to have gone through a process of research into a gap that you identified, or an area that you felt you could improve. And your work takes you deeper into that. So I sit here, my joy is the fact that my contribution to knowledge actually was to highlight the point that disability is not a taboo, but a competitive disadvantage for leadership, particularly in Asante and Gonja cultures, culturally in Ghana. You see how I have weaved them? Because my work was qualitative driven.
Okay.
And in qualitative research, you don't generalize. You seek meaning and understanding from participant perspectives, from the area that or the people that you are researching into. And you are careful that, unlike quantitative studies where you are dealing with numbers, high numbers that you can use to generalize based on a certain baseline of arithmetic calculations, here you are delving into people's understanding and the meaning they give or derive of a certain phenomenon. Now, if that is my joy, really, when you choose to call me doctor, this, that, I'm not a fan of it. Honestly, and sometimes...
For some reason, those who go through the process to earn it don't like to be called...
Isn't that always the case?
You understand? And sometimes, I mean, I get, sometimes people make you but honestly, it humbles you. Because why I say it humbles you is that the more you read and the more you research into the area, you get to know that you are just getting a small slice of a big cake.
Right.
And in my area of specialization, which is leadership and disability, for example, there are trillions and tons of literature. I doubt if I read even 100,000 literature.
Yeah.
So what you read is very little. And the more you read, the more you get to know that, hey, so I don't know so much. I know so little. So I got to be careful. I have to be very careful how I position myself as an expert in that area. It humbles you. And that is why honestly, I really don't get it. That recently somebody was on a radio program, an old elderly person, claiming to have been a professor at KNUST. And 2 questions disgraced him. He was exposed. He was exposed.
We really have to stop this thing.
And it's a sign of mediocrity. And I mean,
yes.
somehow, sometimes we may need to examine the mental faculties. Because honestly, there's this syndrome, I read on it recently, undesirability. People who live fake lives.
Yes.
And they do it
they fake it until you make it.
Yeah, and they do it in such a way that they cannot live without lying about something.
I would have thought that is very exclusive to social media and what we call the Gen Z.
No.
People are living their whole lives.
People live on false, or if you like, some fake dreams.
That must be a syndrome. Vicky, you've got something to add before we go to the newspapers?
I mean, yeah, no, I just wanted to say that I was just looking at Google AI just now. To just affirm what I just said.
Yeah.
And Google AI says, while an honorary doctorate signifies recognition of significant achievements, the title doctor is typically reserved for those who have earned a doctorate through rigorous academic studies such as a PhD or MD. Therefore, it is not appropriate, it is generally not appropriate to use doctor if you've only received an honorary doctorate. So all of you out there, doctor this, doctor that, some haven't even completed formal education to an appreciable extent. Stop using it. And stop confusing people, because people are confused whether you're real or whether someone conferred it to you. Yes, we celebrate whatever area you
contributed.
Yes, contributing to and all that, but do not use that title. You're not supposed to use it. It suggests a certain, I don't know.
Yeah. In academics, would that be, if you stole some sort of knowledge, what would that be? Well, they didn't even go through the academic process.
Plagiarism.
Plagiarism, but even that, it may not.
It may high crime. You know?
It is.
All right, let's get into the papers this morning. We'll start with the Ghanaian publisher this morning. It says that Mohammed's Levy rollout, oil marketers say no to GRA. Story is on page 3 as well. Minority petitions IGP over Ablikuma North results, and is on page 2 as well. And Bentil Dafiamekbo chides OSP, and that is also on page 2 of the Ghanaian publisher. The Ghanaian Times this morning as well, at Eid al-Adha congregation, pray for peace in Boko and conflict areas. This is President Mahama speaking. Story is on page 11. And this one has my attention. TDC to deliver 2,000 flats annually beginning 2026. And the managing director has been speaking as well. And Land Minister rallies support for Tree for Life afforestation campaign. Story is on page 5 this morning. Let's see what's in front of the Business and Financial Times. Liquidity control measures cost BOG 8.6 billion Ghana cedis in 2024. Story is on page 3 as well. And for corporate governance, rural banks directors undergo training for corporate governance certification as well. That would be the big one in front of the BNFT. Doc, what do you have in front of the custodian this morning?
Baumia Flay's dishonest NDC on Doomsor Levy. BOG ignoring 4 billion Ghana cedis positive balance in 2024.
Right.
That's attributed to Gideon Boakon. And then MPP MPs prod IGP over Ablekuma North seat. And I think poor conditions hit Ghanaian Hajj pilgrims. And the last story there is BOG to adhere to zero budget financing, according to the governor.
Okay, I'll go to Vicky. Vicky, what's the big one in front of your paper? Which one do you have?
I have the news center, and it's about the nurses' strike. Nurses' strike, patients stranded. Total withdrawal of services starts today. And then BOG posts 9.4 billion CD losses. And then on the other side of that, BOG gross assets by 53% to 215 billion in 2024. And then gold for oil, to BOG post 2.1 billion forex losses. And Ghana's future embedded in TVET, says the MTN CEO. And then the 1 CD fuel levy.
That's perfect. That's shouting at me. And we've just been joined by Mustafa Bandi, Deputy General Secretary, NDC, and Deputy Director of Operations and at the, shall I say presidency? He doesn't like that title very much, but maybe today he'll give us clarity.
I like to always be a Deputy General Secretary.
You like to always be Deputy General Secretary. You don't like the Director of Operations at the presidency.
It's a duty I'm discharging, but my elected title is Deputy General Secretary. That one you have to go through an election to remove me.
That one I can only engage further on that if I want to engage in typical politics. But if I want accountability and governance, I've got to operate with you on that.
I understand why you always want to use that one.
Yes.
No problem.
But anyway, how was your weekend? How was your holiday?
The weekend has been good.
Okay.
Basically, I think this morning the country is calm, which is one of our happiest moments. When we wake up and Ghana is calm, we are happy. We are prepared to serve the people of Ghana again and also to contain critics and other commentaries that will come into governance to ensure that we balance in services to the people of Ghana. So we are good.
Okay. Doc, let me start with you. What in the news has your attention?
I think that this Ablekuma North seat that remains undeclared. It's not only sad, but it's unfortunate as a people. Election is a cycle, it's a process. From the registration of voters, in fact, the publicity that should precede that, through to compiling the electoral register and presenting it to all the actors that matter. The initial preparations that should be made towards elections day, and educating the populace about the processes. In this age and time, we now have introduced biometric technology, which verifies people. And the whole essence is to ensure that the principle of one person, one vote is adhered to. And when you have voted one, and that has been ensured through biometric verification or through the advantage of technology, it can only be counted once. And once the count is done, I have a difficulty why we engage in post-election challenges and violence. Honestly. And this is my view. My, very basic appreciation and the insights I got through my work in Manshia and Yagbang. And when I'm talking about the Gonja, Federation. Leadership is burden bearing. It is carrying suffering, pain and suffering. And that is why many a royal in former times ran away from title and position because of the duties, responsibilities, and obligations that associated or accompanied that. Today, it's almost as if, unfortunately, Rattray made observation of this in his 1929 Asante Law and Constitution, that most people today are going into rights and privileges. That instead of, rising or assuming responsibilities and duties or obligations, we are going for rights. And that's why there's so much chaos in there. Otherwise, Ablekuma North, the votes were done. It was during the tallying and the declaration by the EC that we have a problem, and we have had a problem since then. Now, I want to propose two things. I don't want to dwell on problems. I think the Electoral Commission must begin to institute ways that technologically results can automatically be declared. And this is something I was part in proposing when Dr. Farijan, the first chairperson of the Electoral Commission, set up the Electoral Reform Committee, of which I was a part.
Okay.
We proposed that elections declaration, when the votes have been counted at the polling center, there should be, if you like, a pool where results will be entered, that biometrically or technologically, at instance, you can tell what is going. First, at the polling center, the constituency collation center, and then the national collation center. How do you do it? Every polling, if you take Intampono, for example, I don't know, when I went to contest, there were 133 polling centers. I don't know what number they are now. But if you have 133 polling centers, each of those polling centers, once the results are declared, they transmit dually, one to the constituency collation center and one directly to the national collation center. So if you come to the national collation center, there are 276 constituencies now. Each constituency has its own pool that it is receiving each of the polling centers from that constituency in the national pool. Yeah. So whilst the constituency is tallying, we can tell within real time that in this constituency, Mustafa Gbandi is getting this number of votes. Vicky Bright is getting those number of votes. So at the end of the tally, even before we go through the signatures and all these things, we are aware.
Doc, so really, who is to blame? Who should we blame for this?
Well, I blame us, all of us. No, especially those who went to disrupt the place. You can't blame the Electoral Commission. I'm saying, well, you can blame the Electoral Commission if you want to talk about delay in rolling out reforms that were suggested as far back as 2015.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
And it is not about one regime, but a systemic thing. And sometimes it is also the political parties. When the Electoral Commission is about to roll out some of these innovative things, I have been there at IPAC. Sometimes we resist. Sometimes we obstruct. So that is the first thing. And I'm sure if we were able to do that, very little could be done about these things. Then the second one for me is what I quoted Mr. Patrick Awa, the Ashesi University founder and CEO. It will take virtuous, productive people to build Ghana. MFA, no matter how good the law is, the law can be no better than the people who are called upon to obey or administer it.
Yeah.
So,
how
have we as a people readily accepted that we will live by the principle of one man, one vote, even when it goes against us? You don't always win.
Let me go to Vicky. I mean, Doc has just raised up, and we'll quickly go to the One Ghana levy on fuel, which is one of the most topical things to discuss this morning. But once Doc has started with the Ablekuma North constituency results, last week we saw the minority march to the IGP to petition him that they would require security for the collation of the results. I mean, over the period where we have seen the collation on TV, we see the presence of police anyway. And so then questions were coming up. Why petition the IGP again? Is there not enough security? Are we supposed to be petitioning the IGP? Or call the Electoral Commission to do what it needs to do. The NDC's got their position, but what's your thoughts? I was just asking, who's to blame? Doug believes that all of us are to blame, but in this particular one, Ablekuma North.
Particularly the security failure.
Okay.
Particularly the security.
Vicky, what do you think?
Well, I probably agree with Doc because we're all, you know, the elections.
You call me Kwabna. You and I, we don't
Doc, you're so humble. For today, we will maintain the dog.
I beg you. It's like when people call me honorable, I'm like, I'm just Vicky, you know, forget the honorable. Yeah. So, yeah, I think we all are to be blamed to some extent, you know, but of course, the main players in these things are the candidates, the police, the EC, you know. And I think if everyone does their part well, we wouldn't be where we are today. Elections are won or lost at the polling stations. We all know that.
Yeah.
Okay, so when it's counted and the results are declared, that's the end of the matter. All this toing and froing and up and down and blah, 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 etc., it just confuses issues. And then you end up in this kind of situation. Or if you're not careful, you even end up with violence. And people have died as a result of these kinds of protests. So we just need to be more decorous. We need to be more vigilant. You know, I would say to political parties, just be vigilant at the polling station.
So when we're recording all of these issues, Vicky, we'll come back, most importantly, on the One Ghana cities, which I think that's now when you're buying fuel, you're going to be looking carefully. But Bundy, as of last week when we had a conversation on the polls, I recall that one of the things that your party is pushing for is a sit-down, more like an IPAC. Is that what you're still calling for to be able to resolve this Ablekuma North issue? And why? Why can't we just adhere to what the court says, go and collate?
Yeah, so good morning to our listeners and yourself, my colleagues. You know, what the minority MPs did last week was typical reflection of mediocrity. Because you see, Ablekuma North, the MPs who march, they do not vote there. They don't have a vote there. The stakeholdership in terms of Ablekuma North has to do with the political parties and then the candidates they have presented. So what is their basis for going on a walk only to present a petition? A petition which is needless because the processes and the conversation is already ongoing. One, when we finished the election in Ablekuma North, all right, political parties claimed that during the difficulties that ensued at the collation, pink shirts got messed up. And so one would ask if the EC was also part of this problem, the mix-up, that they could also lose their pink shirts. So the NDC requested audience and follow-ups with the Electoral Commission in order to show a roadmap for us to go and complete the process. My colleague last week made reference to a court ruling. The court ruling was to the effect that the Electoral Commission should go back and complete its exercise of recollation in order to declare the results in Ablekuma North.
Yeah.
The court didn't determine the modalities because the court assumed that CI 127 is already clear enough for the Electoral Commission to base its modalities on. The dilemma we have now is that even after we met the Electoral Commission and asked questions, because the pink sheets, the law stipulates that we should use carbonated pink sheets to do collation. The pink sheets that we are talking about today, which the Electoral Commission intends to go and do recollation with, were provided by the MPP through what they call scanned copies. And that has not been reflected in CI 127. So we are telling the Electoral Commission that what you are trying to do is an illegality. You cannot amend a law because you are going to do a recollation. And you cannot manufacture a law that doesn't exist only to, So let's go back and sit at stakeholders and discuss. The first meeting, our colleagues went. We posed the questions. EC says, oh, they were going to go back and give us the answers later. We followed up. They never got back to us. Only to run into the media to accuse the police of failing to provide security, which is why they have not gone to collate. Meanwhile, the security, the police is already a member of the Electoral Elections Task Force. So if you had called an IPAC, you would have the opportunity where the police would be present if they were needed to discuss this. The EC didn't do that. Now, Siriboe Kweku has made certain pronouncements and supervised all these recollation, at least about 7 constituencies after the December election. Electoral Commission then says now that, oh, okay, so whatever Siriboe Kweku comes to say, he accused the police. He doesn't speak on authority of the issues. Okay, we say right. So we followed up again to the IGP. After we intended to go to the police, then they ran to the police to complain. Then we followed to the police. We met the IGP and the entire POMAP members. And we explained the issue. That day we invited MPP, they failed to come. I was there myself. We had a meeting. Then the police then agreed that, okay, let's go back. Electoral Commission should sit with the stakeholders and discuss a roadmap. Why are they not willing to do that?
As of this morning, what's the way forward?
The Electoral Commission should be here. They should be telling you what the roadmap is. As far as I'm concerned, the Electoral Commission cannot invent a new law to declare results. That is an illegality. And the IGP should decline that invitation to perpetuate an illegality, and we in the NDC won't allow that to take place.
Let me go to the lawyer. Vicky, you're a lawyer. In situations like this where one party says that, well, that law doesn't exist, but they cannot, you cannot manufacture a law. What should we do? Go back to court to seek some sort of clarity on the modality?
Look, before she comes in, what is even more bothering is that in the process of what they were calling recollation, which we didn't agree, some of the persons who they purport have signed the pink sheets have come out to say that they are not the signatories to those pink sheets. Last week you were here when Evans then admitted that it is only one person and that they collaborated all the other pink sheets, leaving 3. And out of the 3, one person have come to say that it is not his signature. Is that not elements of fraud?
I mean, the nuances, of course, because the NPP as well will come up with the things that they think that are challenges or that's barring them from wanting to accept whatever results that the NDC is also bringing. But what we
didn't bring results. The Electoral Commission is trying to bring fraudulent results, and we are not agreeing because the Electoral Commission cannot. We are asking the Commission to respect CI 127.
Okay.
The work of the Electoral Commission, discretion is so minimal, and Kobna will tell you. Elections are so regimented in law that if you follow the law, even how to fill a form, CI 127 stipulates it. So now we are at a point where the EC thinks that what is not in the law should be imported.
Vicky, what do you think?
No,
so that we move to the one
it's
that
wrong.
has to be.
I think CI 127 should be respected.
Exactly.
You know. And also it's disturbing if what Mustafa is saying, that someone who is purported to have completed a pink sheet is now saying it's not their signature.
I must confirm that that was live. We were at the Coalition Center when there were a bit of back and forth.
Does that then not negate everything? I mean, you know, because fraud, vitiates everything ab initio, you know. So if that's been live and someone has come out and said, hey, you're saying this is my signature, it's not my signature, how can you still go ahead with it? I mean, let's be real in this country.
What are you calling for? A re-election?
Look, you see, the current setup of the Electoral Commission, I'll tell you, and I fear for 2028, it's a recipe for disaster.
It's a long path to 2028.
It's not a long path. For us, it's not a long path. It's a short path. Look, when you are the referee conducting an election and the people cannot go and sleep trusting that you are neutral, you are credible, and you are professional, there's no way you can have a violent-free, a clash-free, a transparent process. What the Electoral Commission is seeking to do is running away from their own inefficiencies and incompetencies Otherwise, if you applied and gave fidelity to the law, we will not be here. Okay. If Kwabena have won, declare Kwabena have won. If Mustafa have won, I have won.
I think that Mustafa is taking us on a certain trajectory that is very dangerous.
Right.
And I can see and understand what they are. It is an issue that has nothing to do with those who sit at the national headquarters of the Electoral Commission.
No, it has everything to do with them. It has everything to do with them. Where were the coalitions done? The recoalition?
Please.
Where was the recoalition done?
What necessitated the national headquarters, the chairperson of the EC, to come into a constituency matter? Constituencies are headed by...
Who recruited those people who went to the constituencies?
If you want to say that.
Who recruited them?
Please, Mustafa, I'm saying, let me just make this obvious, because what I know, I know where you are going.
Yeah.
And so many things are happening in this country now, pointing to you targeting the Electoral Commission. It's dangerous, be careful.
Which people?
Between 1992 and 2000, everybody who worked at the Electoral Commission had been appointed by Mr. Rawlings. Everybody. In fact, if you take the late Alhaji, Amadou Sule, who is late, and people don't know, he was one of the deputies to Madam Charlotte Osei, the former EC chair. Charlotte testified against Amadou Sule for his removal from office. Amadou Sule had been recruited in the Electoral Commission before it became formal in 1985. That was his pain. If you read his evidence before the committee that was set up by the Chief Justice at the time. Whatever it was, I believe in this. Elections are indeed won or lost at the polling center. There is nothing anybody at the EC headquarters can do to alter what the mandate of the people, is.
Okay.
Now, let's look at 127 that you are talking about. What is the issue here? We have had situations where a person was declared member of parliament, Rebecca Dute, in 1996 by the EC. It was suspected to be in error. George Amu mounted a contest, even though it dragged. And Vicky, you may remember this. Until 6 months to the dying period of Ayasu West were gone. That was when the High Court, in fact, he went to appeals court. The decision was eventually made that Rebecca Dute's name should be expunged from the register and be inserted with George Isaac Amu's name. So EC can make mistakes, but their mistakes are not beyond correction, or that we can correct them. Now, what is the point here? Who went to destroy the sheets that are to be used to collate? I'm coming.
Is that your debate?
Oh, it's not my debate.
I mean, I think.
It was not the NDC.
Can I finish? Can I? Oh, please. If we watch the footage, and up to date that we have not picked anybody. Some of them were carried on live television. We saw persons, we saw faces. Nobody has been picked up. And in the event of the absence of whatever documents were to be used to be declared, if you are proposing that there should be a rerun of the place, let that be your suggestion in clear terms. Other than that, the EC will have to do the declaration with what they have. If you suspect, if you suspect that there is fraud in that, fraud vitiates anything, everything.
Yeah.
And that's an acceptable process.
So instead of allowing the EC to go ahead to complete their work, and if you have any challenge, you challenge it and you say that we won't let this. What is that?
Kwabena, you are mixing unrelated facts here.
We'll put this Ablikuma North constituency matter right here in front of me. Let's go to, because I'll be buying petrol from now on. The matters to me, I'm very biased towards this.
Because you want to hold me accountable.
Mustafa.
Yes.
So
did you bring the tax?
But how are you feeling about the oil marketing companies, GPRTU, the pushback from stakeholders on this particular 1 Ghana cedis on 1 liter, 1 Ghana cedi on 1 per liter?
First of all, I think that I'm one person who believes in engagements as a very medium for solving problems and also building consensus. Even if Ghanaians were to support that immediately we are ready to pay 1 Ghana cedis, there was still the need for government to explain into details what the tax is, the feasibility of the tax, and the use of the proceeds from the tax. Because on the record, we've had situations where we are told that there are very compelling reasons why a certain tax will have to be imposed. And when that was done and Ghanaians accepted, the monies were collected, the intended purpose was not achieved. And so today's Ghanaian is very much awake, very impatient and intolerant to imposition of tax. Now, what are we talking about here? We just took over government 5 months down the line. Today, in the last 8 years, the ordinary Ghanaian have not seen a single reduction in anything in this country. Nothing at all was reduced. It was going higher and higher and higher. Today, as we speak, even market women are exposing their own counterparts who are still holding on to old prices of goods and services. What it means is that all of us, whether you are CPP, PNC, MPP, we all want to see prices of goods and services come down to an affordable level. Fuel prices, as we speak today, Star Oil is 10.9. 5 months ago, we're buying it around 14 or 13 or 15. 5 months ago, Ghanaians had no choice. We had to cough. If you were a taxi driver, you have to buy. If you were a truck driver, you have to buy. If you were a public servant, you bought it at either 14 or 15. 5 months down the line, fuel price is 10.9. Some places are 11. And then government decides that we have a very serious challenge. We will not be ranting to say MPP never did anything. NDC have done something. Let's holistically commit to resolve that problem. And the only way out is to look for money. Don't forget that Ken Ofori-Atta have taken all the loans, and it's an accountability issue now, not to show for. So let's go and look for a domestic way of finding that money to deal with the energy situation. Okay? Okay. Now, if you add 1 cedis to 10.9, it makes 11.9. It's still lower than 14 cedis or 15 cedis. There are people who are on the streets jumping about, leading a crusade against this 1 Ghana cedi. It's the MPP and the minority. They are minority. Look, and they are looking to compare the energy levy to what did they call it? The Momo levy? What do they call it? E-levy. The e-levy. So soon. The e-levy. The e-levy. Ghanaians didn't have a problem paying e-levy as a tax. The problem they had is that at the time they were imposing that levy, it was clear that this country was on autopilot. It was in the hands of wrong people. Baumia have gone around, had lectures like very soon what my brother will be doing. He likes to give lectures a lot, but he will be better than Baumia. Gave lectures all over the country, but we're seeing nothing. It was clear that they were going to build 1 village, 1 dam, took loans for it. They have chopped the money. It was clear that $10 million was given for Paluvu Dam without construction. It was clear that they used 24... I'm coming. It was clear that they used 24 billion to resolve energy in the banking sector cleanup of 9 billion. So in essence, you're saying clearly Ghanaians were fighting a corrupt regime and negligence as opposed to productive investment of taxes. So you're saying that Ghanaians are okay paying the 1 Ghana cedis? Ghanaians will be okay because it is unavoidable. It's a situation we can't run from. Because today, if our lights go off, President Mahama cannot manufacture lights. What do you say? We have to resolve it as a country. What do you say to those or persons who are concerned about the fact that the real challenge, which is ECG, we're not dealing with it? I agree with that. I agree that ECG, an institution, is sitting on negligence, laziness, lack of seriousness, and we need to clean the place up.
And
I have even gone ahead to say that the various burning, to some largest extent, the doomsaw is not scientific, and that we should go ahead and secure the substations of ECG. When we do that, we would have been testing, would have been troubleshooting the problems confronting ECG.
What do you also say to the oil marketing company?
That is why I say that the finance minister and the energy minister will be and should be engaging these individuals.
But you have already passed this bill to
We have passed. If we didn't pass, you wouldn't know that there are concerns to resolve. And so now that concerns have come, we are engaging, which all of you agree that we need explanation. Kwabena will come and talk about, oh, we need you to explain.
I won't allow you to tell us what Kwabena will say because Doc is here. He won't allow you to tell us what he would say.
I know he will say. He's my brother. I know that is where he will come from. But I'm saying that the people who are calling for equity must come with, honestly, clean hands. And I don't think that MPP has what it takes to talk about this thing because they put us in this situation. They put us in this situation.
Vicky, are you happy paying this 1 Ghana cedi?
Of course not. I'm Ghanaian, but I understand why it's there. You know, I think let's go back to ECG because I think that's where the crux of the problem is. I think the real issue lies in poor management of our energy sector generally. We have structural issues, that have to be sorted out. There are technical losses, commercial losses, procurement issues, corrupt practices which go unpunished, etc., etc. So, we can do all this, but if we don't attack the problem from its root, from its core, then we will keep coming back to the same old issue. Yet, no, of course, nobody is happy to pay it, but people will pay it because I think if it's broken down correctly, people will understand why we need to pay it. There's a gap, and that gap is growing every day. And unless we find money to plug that hole, it will continue to grow. It's a problem that we just cannot run away from. So I think that the government needs to actually look at it again and engage with the stakeholders. That's very important. The manner in which it was brought in is problematic. So I think stakeholders must be engaged. I also think, as a lawyer, I think of things like the sunset clause, which other people have been talking about. So I think we need to have a sunset clause because that will actually calm people down and they will know that if some of the variables change, then government will review it. The fact that government is always reviewing it because it's been introduced not for the fun of it, but to solve a problem. So if people, the other side of it is we're doing it to solve a problem, and this is the proof. We have the sunset clause, which means we are continually reviewing it. And when certain variables align, when we've plugged that hole, we will then look at maybe either bringing it down or repealing it altogether. I think that will give concern. But the open-endedness of it, I think, is what is worrying people. So government should engage.
If you were not here, Mustafa would have said everything that you want to say for. He would have said it for you. But I'm glad that you're here.
Doc will oppose it.
I am surprised that someone who believes in learning will be having a problem with lectures.
Some lectures were not fruitful in this country.
You see, we live in the information age. And information sharing is always very critical. And what is important to note about information sharing or knowledge sharing is that you have got to study.
Yes.
You have got to learn to be able to share or give off what you have learned. But in humility, knowing very well that there are others who know more or may know better than you. What are we talking about? The problem is what Mustafa summed up and went round in circles contradicting him.
Doc, whilst you're at it, I'd like you to also address in your submission the people or those who say that it looks like the government is abusing the goodwill that they have so far because they think it is the perfect time to impose a tax, and if they did it any longer, it wouldn't have worked. You want to address that for me?
I will address that quickly. It is not abusing the goodwill they had. They never had any goodwill. The government is abusing the disgust at the last regime, which appears to be a goodwill for them, and they must learn. I'm telling you, 2017, I said certain things of the last regime to be careful of the artificial win of 2016. Just as I'm saying, mark it on the wall, 2024, the elections outcome was an artificial in nature if you do a thorough study of election patterns. But that is not the subject of this conversation. If they want, they can interrogate the figures, the data, and what it is saying. They were shocked at the numbers they had in Parliament. If he thinks that they actually worked for it, that's another matter. But let's deal with this issue. At the bottom of this matter is what Mustafa said and what Vicky has mentioned. We live in an era where we talk about collaborative leadership. No matter how visionary you are, no matter how altruistic you are, no matter how embracing you are, if you don't bring the people along to buy into something very good for them that you are pursuing, it may be misconstrued. You have mentioned the stakeholder engagement. It's the way out. Do you think we will be talking about this after the fact if people had been engaged thoroughly? The problem with Levy, if you care to know, it's not about who was in charge. It was about the poor management of stakeholders. And you want to follow that same line? For me, you have given a very good rationale or reasoning that everybody in this country would have bought into. That look, we are experiencing a plummeting or downflow of the figures in the oil sector. We have a huge debt there that we have to clear. Let's take advantage of this period in the circumstances, and that's why Vicky's point about the sunset clause in the bill that was passed under certificate of urgency would have, included all these things. I believe that nobody will be talking. As she said, we have already started paying it. Yeah. But why are you now asking after the fact for them to go and engage? Because it was necessary. And so when we make admissions, it makes governance very good. There won't be any long lecture.
And people even appreciate it.
People will appreciate it. Yeah. People will not see you as arrogant. And most of us, I want to say this. Look, MFA, yeah. I sit here as a politician, and I have mentioned that people have issues with how I even explain. I used to be partisan, and I ran to be the chief executive of a political party. Since 2020, I said I will no longer be partisan, and I quit the political party I joined. But I'm still politically active, making political statements, and I will take political positions. However anybody will construe it, I'm saying that I will not be partisan. But even me sitting here, and all of us, sometimes including the media, the Ghanaian populace have doubts as to the sincerity of what we say, even on air. It is some of these things. When you don't involve the people and you think that you know how they live better than them, they watch you. And the moment we lose confidence in our public space, we are on autopilot that you were talking about. In this country, what are the values? Where are the limits? Where are the benchmarks? That we will say that even among thieves, there is honor. You can steal from anybody. But when you steal from a fellow thief, they say you've crossed the red line. They will deal with you and kill you. Do we have that in our public space? That our public office holders, when we are saying certain things, we show that, oh, we are disagreeing on all matters, but as for this one, we are agreeing on that. We need to have those standards in our conversations. I don't think that there will ever be a government that can say that it is without fault. But have we ever seen a government admit its faults in its tenure? as if we are running and ruling with angels. It defeats the purpose of collective governance. So I plead that if we are all admitting that the absence of stakeholder engagement ahead of passing this thing was a deficiency, was a mistake, let's admit it and move on. Lastly, we still have it in our books, a law and a tax regime to clear off energy sector debt. That is ESLA. It was passed by former President Mahama when he was in his first term. I'm advisedly using former President Mahama because as he then was in 2015, as at that time. Yeah. He passed it when he was president. Now he's come back, and we are introducing another energy sector debt cleanup under a new tax regime. What becomes of the two? Could we not have maintained ESLA with some adaptations?
I'll explain that to you.
No, I'm just saying that if we had had a stakeholder engagement without seeing it as a new tax regime, but whatever it is, we have done it. It is now law. If anybody feels that it was improperly done or unconstitutionally followed, I think that at this stage it is the courts that can address that. But until then, I want to advise that going forward, what Ghanaians want to see is this. There must be accountability of the taxes that they pay. What our monies are used for. It should be transparent, it should be open, and people who handle the purse must be accountable. I'm done. Thank you.
Yeah, and I want to actually re-emphasize that.
Thank you.
Okay. Because that was a point that I wanted to make as well. NDC has a lot of goodwill at the moment with Ghanaians, and it's important that they carry Ghanaians along throughout the 4 years. And so for this particular matter, I think transparency is paramount. They should explain, and then they should carry all Ghanaians along through transparency and also explaining to all of us how the money is being utilized. Because Ghanaians are willing, we're all willing to pay. I mean, we want to see our country prosper, but we have to understand certain things, and we have to also be convinced that this is what the money, that what the government says is going to use the money for is what is being used for, and we'll all support it. You know.
Mustafa, just hold it there for me. Stay with me. Let me go on the line and engage Smile Agbamenu. He is Chief Revenue Officer, Customs Policy and Programs Department. Good morning, and thank you for joining us this morning. So we just want to understand the modalities of this new tax that you're going to be implementing. Initially, we thought it was going to start today, but we're learning that it will be starting on the 16th of June. Please bring us to speed with the modalities.
Okay, good morning to you and to your cherished viewers.
Good morning.
Good morning. The act implementing... Hello, can I be heard?
Absolutely. Please go on.
Thank you. The act we're implementing is the Energy Sector Levy Amendment Act 2015 Act 1141. This act was assented to by the President on the 4th of this month. Normally for petroleum listings, we have put them into two price windows. One, it starts on the 1st up to the 15th of the month, and then from the 16th to the end of month. Many of the policies are implemented during the start of any of the price windows, either the 1st of the month or the 15th of the month. The reason for which you mentioned that we are expecting to implement this policy on the 16th of this month. That is the start of the new price window. I mentioned the start of the new price window because that is when NPA engages with the OMCs to determine the price range at which products are to be sold at the pumps or at the filling stations. Factors that NPA consider include government taxes and also include exchange rate differentials and other factors. So when we commit the new tax to NPA then asks this one into the price builders and communicate to the oil marketing companies how much they are expected to sell the product at the pumps or at the filling stations. Our mandate is to collect the expected revenue in accordance with the Act. You recall we implemented a new Act, which was a consolidation of all the various acts under the energy sector levy. Initially, DRA was collecting some of the taxes, and then the National Petroleum Authority was also collecting another. So in 2025 this year again, start of this month, government thought it wise to consolidate all these taxes and then assign all of them as the tax for collecting by DRA. So NPA ceased to be collecting what they used to collect as the price stabilization levy. The price stabilization levy, the sanitation and pollution levy, the energy sector recovery levy, and all those taxes have been consolidated into one tax, which is the energy sector shortfall levy.
Okay.
So this is what had been increased by 1 cedi for some products and for some of them by 20 Ghana pesos.
Okay.
So if you look at petrol, if you look at diesel, as we popularly known, they have been increased by 1 cedi. So what we do is to, one, configure the system that we use for the administration of petroleum liftings and payments to add the 1 cedi collection per liter to it, which GRA have done. 2 is to issue a Commissioner General's directive, which we call the Tariff Interpretative Order. That details the intention of government, the implementation of the Act, and how we are expected to collect the Act, and which of the products it affects. That has also been issued, and in that one also comes with the start date of the implementation by GRA, which has been communicated as the 16th of this month. Then we direct the oil marketing companies, we direct the officers themselves who are also at the depots, what exactly is expected of them. So every concerned stakeholder will be notified through this tariff interpretative order, which has been done. Another engagement that we do with the stakeholders is to have an engagement with the oil marketing companies. In fact, over the weekend, it was expected to have been done beyond the publication and all those ones, but they have deferred it to this week. So we are expecting either to hold a discussion with them by tomorrow, just explaining further the Commissioner General Tariff Interpretative Order that regards the collection of the additional 1 cedi for super and diesel and for the other 20 pesos.
Okay.
This does not include kerosene because kerosene has not been increased with regards to this new act.
Right.
So these are the things that we have put in place. But let me also indicate that we already have the structures with them. So nothing is taken except for the additional 1 cedi collection for super and diesel, and then 20 pesos collection for those other affected. But nothing really is changing. It's something that we have gone through with them over the period, so they are familiar with, and they know this is how we implement. Thank you.
Right. I mean, this question will be actually from Doug, only if you can hear him. But let me just ask you anyway. Doug wants to know whether if this amends ESLA in any way.
Yes. So I mentioned from the beginning that the energy sector, in fact, the Energy Sector Levies Act, 2015 Act 1035.
Yeah.
What it did was 1135. Sorry, Act 1135. What it did was to consolidate all the other taxes that we were collecting under ESLA, and I'll mention to be specific, those that GRA was collecting and those that NPA was collecting, which was the price stabilization. So GRA was collecting the road fund, levy, the energy fund levy, and then the energy debt recovery levy, which was into 3 parts. Then we're collecting the sanitation and pollution levy. So all these acts were repealed, and then they introduced the energy debt recovery levy 2015 at 1135.
Okay.
Then they consolidated all those ones into now 3 taxes under ECLA. These 3 taxes specifically are the energy fund levy, the road fund levy, and now the energy sector shortfall and debt payment levy. So the energy shortfall and debt payment levy is what has been increased by 1 cedi for super, that's petrol or diesel, and then 20 pesos for other products, excluding kerosene.
Okay. Okay. Ismail, I hear you clearly, because then you are an implementing body, and so you'd have to be implementing the law or the levy. But, I mean, you mentioned NPA, you mentioned oil marketing companies. We've got a few days to 16th. You have mentioned some sorts of engagement. Have you had an extensive engagement that you think will be very effective from the 16th of June?
Thank you. So you'll notice that even in the industry from the government side, we have players. So we have the ministry itself who does their own engagement. We have the National Petroleum Authority who meets with the OMC to determine the price range within which they will be selling the product at the pump. And then we have GRA as another government agency for the collection of the tax. So yes, I'm not speaking for the ministry, but I understand the ministry had engagement with the Association of Oil Marketing Companies. I know NPA does this engagement because they needed to determine the price window, price amount for which we are supposed to sell them. And then for GRA, we have several forms of engagement. One which I mentioned is the communication of the order or the directive from the Commissioner General to them, which had been done. In that spells out the details of the tax and how or the modality for its collection. And I mentioned that we have already done this, just the tax of this month. So this is just an increase to some of the taxes. So the modality for its collection and then all those changes have been done. It is just for this particular increase that we are talking about. So we are expecting to continue an engagement with the Association of Oil Marketing Companies, reaching out to their members within the week, prior to the implementation by the 16th of this month.
Right. Finally, before I let you have your morning to yourself, I know that 16th is around the corner, and I'm just calculating my money. Beyond what you're doing now, engaging as the media, are you certain that we can have some good accountability?
Yes, of course. I mentioned that this is something that we are already doing.
Yeah.
We have the building blocks for the collection and the accounting for all government revenue.
Right.
So this is no different from what we are already doing.
Right.
We are only adding an additional amount as government has determined. So it is something that we are duty bound by law to do, for which we are doing.
Okay.
We have categorization of the oil marketing companies. Some of them would have to pay upfront before they go and leave the product. We call them those on cash and carry basis. And then those that would have provided a form of security under the relevant section of the Customs Act to be able to provide a security to cover their lifting, and then they have the payment time.
Okay.
For those that provide the security, they have we have the 21 calendar days and 4 working days up to which they are supposed to pay the full tax amount by the end of the price window. You recall I mentioned we have 2 price windows within the month.
Yes.
The 1st to the 15th of the month, and then the 16th to end of month.
Okay.
So at the end of the price window, let's say for this particular we are collecting, which will be ending on the 15th, there's a consolidation of all the products that have been listed, which is due for payment within 21 plus 4 working days after the end of the price window. This is a practice that GRA has been doing over the years, and nothing is changing with regards to that one. Where you are unable to pay, the system itself that you use for lifting the product would deny you access. It means that you are unable to lift any subsequent product, and then the security that you have provided, GRA may have to fall on the security. So these are practices that are known in the industry, and nothing is changing with this practice.
Nothing very novel.
The additional tax that will be collected.
Right. That's some good clarity. Bundy, do you have anything to ask him? I see you nodding, and before I let you go.
I think that I'm happy.
Okay.
Because
if it's a vote of thanks, then give me a minute.
This is what Ghanaians expect.
Okay.
To understand
Well, let me say thank you to Mrs. Smile Agbamenu. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Please proceed, because this is an entity implementing your policies.
Is it Smile or Smiler?
Well, is Smile gone? Because his photo suggests it will be Smile. and it's because it's
a lovely name.
You know what? I almost thought, look at that. And that's a good question, because when I saw Agbamenu, I said that, well, that's an Everman. He can't be Smiler. He must be Smile.
Thank you. It calls for further interrogation. I mean, I think that, like my brother said, that Ewa indicated that it takes virtuous and productive men.
But Patrick Ewa. I was quoting him.
To build this country.
That's like plagiarism.
And for me,
thank you.
I want to say that, look, Ghanaians are fatigued. We lack a lot of understanding in a lot of things in this country because we take each other for granted. If we can get to a place where everyone, government official, take responsibility, to regard that the burden of payment is on the ordinary Ghanaian. And so whatever you are doing, we should tie in the understanding, the buy-in of all Ghanaians. I don't think we'll have governance issues and trust issues. And so this is what we expected to see, except that, the tax laws itself is a whole classroom on its own. I realized that when he was explaining at some point, you were lost, because the tax laws are so detailed and so, conceptualized. And
Professor Nacha and
so, but it will continue. We are just begging everybody, MFA.
Yes.
Look, this tax is painful. This tax is burdensome. But this tax, the tragedy of it is when you have a child in an incubation machine and there's light out and that child loses his life. The difficulty when an old lady is on oxygen in a hospital and light goes off and he loses that old lady. The difficulty when you have a 6-month baby in a room without light, without fan, without air conditioning, to have to merge that with mosquitoes. And so we have to bear it as Ghanaians, hoping that, look, and I believe and I have confidence that the current finance minister, my brother Atuforsen, have demonstrated enormous commitment, full-scale intellectuality, that he's willing to help the people of Ghana and the government solve their problems.
Well, I'll come back to you. When I come
and so there's a
back
track record
I'll
on which
go on phone
one
and
can
engage
measure.
Ernesto Yeboah, leader, Economic Fighters League. And when I come back to you, I'll still stay with you, Bandy. Why? Because you have said engagement, and then we're asking, when this government took power, we saw there was a lot of engagement, committee, stakeholder engagement, and even on ECG, you have come up with, on the value chain, how it's sought to privatize a part of it. So that's engagement. People feel that this particular levy has sneaked up on us. Why did we not do it? Does it undermine accountability? I'll come to you. But before that, let me go to Ernesto. Good morning and thank you for joining us. And so your statement categorically says that reject the 1 Ghana cedis fuel levy and the economic oppression now. Tell us why.
Thank you very much, Elisa, and good morning to all your listeners and your guests in the studio. I think that it's obvious that the people of Ghana are already reeling under serious economic crisis. And this is certainly not a time for more taxes. It is actually a time for relief. But what makes this even more painful is the fact that we have, as a people, coming from an administration experience that did not take us very seriously, and that has left us so wounded in disregard and disrespect that the way and manner even this levy was imposed marks very much of that, and quite very traumatic for, people to relay that, oh, but we thought you were going to be better. So why do you keep disrespecting and disregarding us as the previous government, did? And so that is one, point where the pain is coming from. The other being that we are certainly not ready to make this kind of commitment. How much were we paying for E-levy? And then you come and scrap it upon your own political promise. And then you bring in a D-levy that appears to be taking more from us. The erstwhile administration, we submitted a number of proposals that we felt was workable then. And we still submit it today because we believe that it is valid even today. We are suggesting to President Mahama, for instance, one, sell all. We don't need it. Look at your brother in Burkina Faso and in the Sahel region. They are running a modest government and they have not died. And so President Mahama and the government can do the same.
Okay.
Council ex gratia, it is one thing that he talked about, but we haven't heard anything, from us. That is something that President Mahama can do. Remove CEOs from all government payrolls is something that we suggested to the, past administration that is still viable, under President Mahama. Remove unnecessary tax from fuel, and rather what he's done is to impose more taxes on fuel. Apply stabilization levy. And this levy would mean that take specific companies, take AngloGold Ashanti, take Newmont and Co., and let them pay more because of the situation that we find ourselves in. And they might be more willing to pay than us because they have exploited us for years. Control our natural resources. We've done that, partially with gold. But what about the other natural resources, including the ones we are discovering? What is President Mahama doing about it? Abolish tax concessions. So, MFA, we can go on and on and on, but the point we are making is that this is not the time for such a levy. And it's painful that a government that is enjoying so much goodwill would do this to
two things,
scuttle
though.
it.
Ernesto, two things from me. Well, it looks like by 16th, they've passed it already. Engagement is ongoing. By 16th, we're going to be paying that. If the government doesn't heed to your call, what would you do? And secondly, what is really the concern? Is it the timing of the implementation of the One Ghana Cedi levy? And if not today, when are you recommending that it should be implemented? Or it's just a matter of no levy at all?
There shouldn't be any levy at all. We are not expecting any levy because that is not what they told us when they were in opposition. That's one. Two, even the framing, the way and manner the levy was slashed on as marks of disrespect. There was no conversation about. All we knew is that one day, Parliament passed it, and then that law. I don't think that this is how President Mahama wants to relate with the people of Ghana.
What will Economic Fighters League do? The levy is here. What would you do?
Well, we will do what we did when President Mahama, was in his first term, when the MPP had their first and second term, and now that the NDC, we will do what we keep doing.
Remind me, Ernesto, what was that?
We are going to organize the people and ensure that There is popular manifestations in the streets, in their homes, everywhere to ensure that this levy is abolished.
Is there a simple word to describe what you're saying? It's a lot of words.
We are going to protest it in every way and form that we can.
Okay, looks like you're getting some offering here. Doc, what's the offer?
That's so. I thought you would say we will fight. That's what fighters do.
Let me.
At least we've got bandits here, so let's hear you.
I like my brother for one thing. His stance are very clear and specific. On this matter, I think that after the program, I'll reach out to him. It is not a convenient tax where you are taxing to construct a road, build a hospital. This is an emergent situation, a difficulty we have all found ourselves in. And so it's important that I'm sure that if we engage even the Economic Fighters League to explain the exigencies of the issues, how these things came about. I also respect the fact that he complained about engagement, prior engagement, and I'll respect him for that. We apologize for that. I think also we need to continue to engage. We shouldn't take the stance that because it's a new government, the way to respect Ghanaians is for us to step aside our responsibilities to pay tax productively for the development of the country. If government has a pedigree of integrity to account, transparent, to ensure that there's a right usage of the money that is collected, I think myself and Ernesto will agree that these light matter, the energy issue is a critical inconvenience to all of us. Nobody needs it. Where we have to be running on generators, where it poses a risk even to patients in the hospital. It affects business. If we can resolve it once and for all, we can continue to do politics, but at least the ordinary Ghanaian would benefit some service from the people, from the government of Ghana, that at least for the first time, we have been able to deal with our energy crisis. Look, we have had a past government diverting funds that were meant to pay off the debt, the energy sector debt. Those funds were diverted into another thing. Whether or not that is also criminal and people should be punished for it is a conversation we'll have another day. So I beg him.
Do you hear, Bandy? He seeks to want to engage you. After
we would engage him and explain some of the issues
for engagement,
so that whilst he's engaging his people, he will carry that on board.
I mean, most certainly, and we have even stated in our statement our reluctance in criticizing the NDC, because we see that President Mahama wants to be different. And so we are ready to engage and then see what makes sense and what doesn't.
Okay. We shall engage you after you have engaged.
We don't want to fight. We want to engage.
All right, thank you.
But they are fighters. That's why we don't want to fight. We want to engage.
Thank you, Ernesto, for
so there's a ceasefire.
Doc, thank you, Ernesto. Have a good day today. Doc, before I come to you on the accountability, Doc, my concern really is that in Parliament, it is very obvious. The NDC's got the overwhelming majority. This business of getting into Parliament with certificate of urgency isn't needed. I recognize that they say the energy, ECG or the energy sector is in crisis. But this business of wanting to pass bills on like certificate of urgency isn't needed. And I ask because ECG's problem existed before the 8th Parliament, the 9th Parliament, particularly transitioning from the 8th Parliament to the 9th Parliament. Why are we solving this problem with a certificate of urgency?
First of all, when we talk about the energy sector issues, it's not limited to ECG. That point must be appreciated. But directly to your question, there's a thin line between enjoying goodwill and benefiting from the disgust of a previous regime. And anybody in governance must remember that there are anchors on which good governance thrives. One is transparency. Two is responsibility. Three is accountability. The fourth and fifth are service with integrity. Minus these, your governance, no matter how hard you fight, will be in limbo. So, Parliament, why the rush? Why the haste? And from what the GRA official said, it is yet to be rolled out. He said 15th of this month. Yes. I was sitting here thinking that it has already been rolled out. I don't know about Vicky.
Yes, no,
I suspect it would be the pushback from the oil marketing companies.
No. But what he's saying, the law.
They need
pricing
to adjust their, calibrate.
There are 2 pricing windows in a month.
There's a window within which you plug in taxes.
2. And that is the point I raised earlier. It does appear that this new tax regime is actually an amendment of an existing law and not a new law.
Indeed, it's
from what
out of a consolidation of all the laws that existed.
Sure. You see why stakeholder engagement is very critical in governance? So I will plead with the leadership of Parliament, particularly the majority side. Don't overplay your numbers, especially in a majoritarian democracy, where the voice of the minutest minority must be heard.
Okay, Vicky.
Yes, it is an amendment. In fact, the official name of the bill is Energy Sector Levies Amendment Bill 2025. And I do agree. I mean, look, I spoke about stakeholder engagement earlier, and also, for me, the sunset provision. If the government can sit down with the various stakeholders, it's never too late to engage people. You know, they should have done it before, they didn't. But, you know, from what Mustafa and others from the government side are saying, they realize that they should have done that. So let's just accept that and let them then move. Yeah, and let's move on and let them start the engagement because it's important. And also to show us how they plan to be transparent with us Ghanaians and to carry us along. And also be accountable, you know, to
Mustafa, is there a sunset clause hidden somewhere that we have not seen?
Please, just before he addresses that, what I just want to add something.
Sure.
About the transparency that, you know, we have shared. You can best do it by regular reporting on how that tax new amendment regime is reducing the debt for which it has been introduced. Regular reporting after a quarter, even if it's a month, if you can't do it monthly and you do it quarterly. Let us see how it is reducing what the reason is for which it was introduced.
Yes, because the fact of the matter is there's 67 billion to be paid. Yeah. You know, and also every year, at least this year alone, they have to find 1.2 billion because the cost of the fuel is not factored into the bills that we pay.
Sure.
As crippling as the bills are already. So these are facts that we can't run away from. So yes, if we can see that it's reducing, I know the Minister of Finance has already given 23 billion. So that's a reduction. And then, you know, hopefully, if they're able to implement this, then it will keep going down. But let us see it so that Ghanaians are carried along with it.
These are all suggestions that we are giving for governance.
This is the calmest I've seen Mustafa.
No, I've always been calm.
Oh, right.
You know, I'm very passionate when I'm doing things.
Don't tempt my brother.
Oh, you want to
Are you sniffing? We'll go back and land on the GTEC matter. That's how we'll
I guess you are holding me accountable. So
that's why you're calm.
You know,
Mathematics
this is a very serious conversation.
Yeah.
And I think that we take all these concerns on board. In fact, as soon as I live here, yesterday around 9 a.m., I was on phone with the Minister of Finance. This morning, we'll do the same to all come on board to ensure that, yes, the tax will be paid. But you see, President Mahama and this government is not willing to be inspired by an iota of the disgust that we have experienced in the last 8 years. We want to govern with the highest level of standard, respect, consideration to all Ghanaians. Look, 8 years is never a benchmark for any governance practice in this country. whilst we continue to explore the best standards, do not forget that these are not already documented practices. They are modern practices to respect the ordinary Ghanaian in terms of governance. We'll make mistakes and we'll veer off. 5 months old government, new appointees will make our own mistakes. And so it was not, and I can repeat that, the lack of stakeholder engagement at the level that we see it was not to disrespect, to spite the ordinary Ghanaian, but these are usual or normal errors that one can appreciate and then go back to correct. So I can assure you that the engagements will be done, the tax will be paid. Now, when we came to power, if you look at the prudency with which the country is being run, for the first time, you see prices of goods and services come down. For the first time, and I'm proud to say this, that if 2 days ago I was asking somebody, someone did a transaction between dollars and cedis, and he was asked whether he wanted dollars. He opted for cedis. This is something you couldn't have heard in the last 80 years, all right? But today, people are proud of our cedis because it is of value. What it means is that something different is happening from the last 8 years. So therefore, I can trust, even though I'm part of the government, I have confidence that, look, these energy crisis must be resolved once and for all. You talk about sunset laws.
Yeah.
I am very sure that the Minister of Finance in the coming days will address the nation on this, where he would indicate the modalities and how these things is going to be done to give Ghanaians the assurance and comfort on how the debt is going to be dealt with. And I'm happy about Doc's contribution that there should be some tracking to see how the drawdown of that debt is going as we pay, how much of it is going down, so that we are all confident that in the responsibility of managing the debt, where somebody is paying, the one who is supposed to ensure that it is paid is doing his work. If we had done this in the last 8 years, Ken Ofori-Atta and President Akufo-Addo would not have gone away with diverting the ESLA money into other areas, which is not supposed to be the case.
Well, so we're wrapping by going back to where we started, because this morning, again, I am joined by Professor Augustine Oklu on the phone. Why? Because Ghana Tertiary Education Commission seeking to take legal action against all those using honorary doctorates and professorship titles in public. They say the practice is unethical and deceitful and tends to dilute the integrity of the higher education system. And Vicky and Doc have been very, very vocal about it this morning. Professor Augustine Oklu, Deputy Director General GTEC, thank you so much for Deputy Director General of GTEC. Thank you for joining us this morning. Why has this become important, Prof?
Good morning, and good morning to everyone. Yes, it's become important because we've seen that the rate at which these titles are being used is becoming too rapid. We've issued this directive in the past, but we think that we are in a situation that we have to take some serious action to curb this once and for all. So that is why we brought it up again. And we're using all the options available to us as a commission to try and bring some sanity in the space. Thank you.
Prof, so beyond this second directive, how long are you giving and how much monitoring, or what are you going to be looking out for before proceeding to taking it to the last wire?
We've started, as I've indicated, we started writing to individuals that have been brought to our attention. I must say that Ghanaians, quite a good number of Ghanaians are supporting us in this fight. So as soon as we started, we issued the first directive. We've started receiving names of those they suspected of using honorary doctorate and professorship titles. We've written to a number of them already, and we'll continue with that particular.
How long has it been there?
Option. We also are thinking of actually meeting the institutions that are offering this or conferring these honorary titles on individuals to see, because they have to play a role in controlling the use of these titles because these are not earned titles. These are titles that are conferred, these are awards. They are not titles. These are awards that are conferred on individuals through citation.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a certificate that you acquire.
Okay.
So you go, there's a special congregation, then there's a citation, and then you're given an honorary doctorate. We call it honorary causa.
Okay.
So the institutions will have to play a very important role in regulating. You know, when you give this award to individuals, you have to state somewhere that you cannot use it. It's not a title that has been conferred on you to use in public or even in private life. These awards are just part of any awards that any individual can acquire or can get. And you actually state them in your CV. You know, that's what you do. You state them in your CV. So when you are being introduced at any function, yes, it's mentioned that you've gotten these awards from this institution. And an individual can get as many as 10 honorary doctor or awards. So how do you get these awards and then you assume a title to yourself? So it's not an academic award that you've or academic degrees that you've earned. So that's where we are coming from.
Prof, kindly just hold the line for me. Let me bring in Professor Stephen Kukwade, a former rector for GIMPA. Prof, thank you for joining us this morning. Do you agree with the directive by GTEC?
Pardon?
Prof, do you agree with the directive from GTEC that persons who are indiscriminately using the title honorary doctors should stop?
Well, first of all, personally, I think that GTEC must be concerned about too many more important things than this. We have universities which are producing almost unemployable graduates and all that one. When it comes to people having that, all over the world, when people are honored with an honorary doctorate, they have the right to use it or not use it. And I've seen it all over the world. Honorary doctorates are not regulated by GTEC or any institution anywhere in the world. That's number one. Number two, what we are talking about, it does not devalue people who have PhD. And nobody with an honorary degree can go to a university and say he's going to teach in the university with their honorary degree. He won't. Thirdly, it is what they are doing is like somebody saying that if you are Nana from a small village and you are Santihene, you are called Nana, and therefore if you call a small person from the small village Nana chief, then you have devalued Otunfo. Let me tell you, no matter how Stephen Adair calls himself Nana Otunfo or Otihene, will I compare with Asantehene or Otihene? Again, I think that all that we can do is that people who can say, if you are honorary degree, you should call it honorary doctor or something. But you can't stop anybody by anything by saying that the regulation of another university or institution, however small that is, and if you haven't recognized it as GTEC, I mean, we are making much ado about nothing. People, instead of concentrating their main job and doing it, waste time on frivolous things that catches the headlines and doesn't do anything. About professorship. Then, when somebody says he's teaching in the University of Ghana or other things as a professor, you have a cause to say that you are fake professor. But if somebody is honored as a doctor by any institution, you can't say that GTEC doesn't recognize your institution. Therefore, you cannot. And naming and shaming it will not make a difference because we take naming somebody and shaming him, they have a false impression that they are so much important in the university circles, but in the ordinary circles, Hakuna Matata, who cares about these things? I think that they are making too much about very unnecessary things. Let me end by saying this. During the communist days, in Russia, there were universities which they would send some people from Africa for propaganda. They were not teaching them well, they give them doctors. And then a Ghanaian was called Mr. Dia. He went into one of these cheap polytechnics for propaganda purposes to come back and do propaganda with a doctor. And then there was a Tanzanian, and the Tanzanian looked at him, and I'm quoting using the intonation of the Tanzanian. He says, Mr. Dua, when you finish your course, you will be called Dr. Dua. But when you go to Ghana, you will meet one Dr. Bushia. And then when we start talking, we will see who is the true doctor. In other words, if the person thinks he can get a cheap doctorate and come to Ghana and be called Dr. Dia, you will meet Dr. Bushia then, who was then well known. And he says that when you and Dr. Bushia start talking, we will see who is a true doctor. For me, I don't care how many people are going to call themselves doctors. Let them go and perform a doctorate and teach in the university. So for me, it's a minor thing, and I don't think that GTech should be worried about who is called an honorary doctor. If you want to say honorary doctors should be called honorary doctors.
Okay.
That is, but don't say that you can't call yourself doctor because you GTech. Soon they will become God. They will determine who will go to heaven. Please, let us stop all these minor things and focus on the challenges of our universities, public universities, becoming, bringing up low-quality graduates, unemployable, and other things. This is where GTech must be focusing, and don't waste our time.
Right, Prof.
Things.
Thank you. Thank you for your submission. Luckily, I still have Professor Oklu on, and I just want to engage him. Professor Dai has just given us an example, especially from the communist era, that really, even in the ever adage, they say when a mega meets, you meet a mega ho-ho. And that this should not be something that you should be worried about because it really doesn't matter. What'd you say?
It matters. In fact, we have a tertiary education policy. The learned professor could look into that. I realized that he touched on only the honorary doctorate. He didn't touch on the honorary professor, which is a rank that people are promoted to. But we are also aware that people have been honored with an honorary professor. So this is getting out of hand. He also indicated that, yes, we can allow it and ask them to use honorary against the doctor. Yes, maybe it will be something that we will have a discussion, a conversation on and see how best we can handle that. Yes, we have a mandate. Our mandate is broad. We are not leaving the other ones and concentrating on only this one. We are working assiduously on all the areas, making sure that the graduates that are produced are of quality. But all that we are saying is that we have to have a distinction. We try to use the analogy of Nana and Tupo and things like that. Yes, in everyday life or in that particular space, it may be fine. But we need to have a distinction between who is a real doctor and who is an honorary doctor.
Doc, who is asking for the distinction?
Hello?
Doc, who is asking for the distinction, and how does it affect our education in any way? Question that people are asking.
Yeah, it does. It does. Because, at a PhD, the doctorate training, you that's why you get people to do high-level research. High-level research and high-level academic work.
Okay.
So if you have a situation in a country where anybody can just go and pay some token to some institution and is given an award, a citation, and the person becomes a doctor, what is the motivation? What is the motivation? I stated this in one of the stations that the only motivation, probably, as the learned professor alluded to, is those who want to be in academia. Because you cannot use honorary to teach in the university. So you are motivated, you are encouraged, or you are forced to go and do a PhD and other doctorate degrees.
Okay.
You know, but where ordinary people can go and pay a token and be given that citation and they confer it on themselves and start using it, then that doesn't motivate the young people to want to acquire that knowledge.
Okay.
Yeah, so it dilutes the system.
Okay, Prof. Thank you so much for speaking to us on the AM show today. Back in the studio, Doug.
You see,
and this will be our final submission.
Yes, to be okay. To be very
sadly,
to be very fair, I think that my good friend, senior Professor Adai, his position is a bit too harsh and hard on GTEC. GTEC is a body, a commission that was set up with a mandate. And what they are doing is included in their mandate. Okay. They are to regulate the use of academic titles. Let's not make a mistake about it. When you hear somebody referred to as doctor, immediately, it comes with a certain impression. And GTEC is the body responsible to guard and guide against misuse of titles that are academic in nature. So I don't think they are going off. I think what is important is that GTEC should be more upfront. They should demystify their existence by making, some of their own rules or guidelines available on the internet. Okay. And they should have education from time to time, not in this firefighting situation, Ernesto and his group, not in a firefighting situation, but they should be proactive to come and engage the public on these things. But bottom line for me, what is in it? That you work with titles without substance? And that is why I am more concerned with my scholarship than the prefix or suffix that you mention my name with. The contribution to knowledge for me. And when you speak, people should be able to read scholarship into it. When you write, people should be able to read scholarship into it.
I think for me, it's actually, yes, it's a deeper problem. It speaks to a deeper problem. And that is people passing themselves off as things they are not. And for me, that is the crux of the matter. Sure. It's too simplistic to look at it in the way in which we are. And you get people even paying like $10,000 to go and get a PhD. We have to be serious in this country. Come on. So you can trivialize it and say, oh, but it's a deeper problem which we have as, which is ingrained in the fabric of this society, that people are passing themselves off as something they are not, and they consistently get away with it. So we have to stop that. And if this is the beginning of that, then I fully support it.
Okay. Bandi, got anything to say?
I wouldn't say much, but except to say that, again, we are caught up in a picture of knee-jerk reaction, which we have always done in this country. And GTEC should not sit down for us to get this deep soaked into this thing. And then, like my brother said, they have the power, the authority to make modalities, rules that regulate titles. Come on, if you haven't aimed, because you see, somebody who have sat in a classroom, written thesis, papers, to earn a PhD, will not allow somebody who have attended a conference and honored or paid $10,000 or something and honored to become a doctorate degree holder, a PhD holder. He will not accept that they are of the same rank.
Right.
And so they have the power to differentiate or distinguish between those who have earned it academically and those who have been honorably conferred. But for us to come into public discussing these things, for me, I have my limitation, and I'll leave it there.
And just before you wrap off, it's like those who go to summer schools in Harvard and Oxford and washing and whatever. And then you see Harvard on their CV, alumni. I mean, come on, let's be serious in this country. You just went on a 3-week program in Harvard in the summer. You are not an or alumni. Stop it.
Ghana is as good as we make it.
Oh, stop it. Stop it. Let's stop. People should stop passing themselves off as something. If you want to go to Harvard, go and enroll. If you want to go to Oxford, go and enroll. Or Cambridge. But don't go to a summer school for 3 months and then start saying you went to Harvard. You did not. Stop it.
I guess also I've gone through the process of writing theses or writing their project work to really understand this conversation. But thank you so much, Victoria Bright, legal practitioner, entrepreneur, and former legal advisor to former President John Kufuor, and as well James Kabna Bonfer Jr., who doesn't particularly like to be called doctor, but I like to call him Dr. James Kabna Bonfer Jr. CEO of Census and lecturer at UPSA, and of course Mustafa Bandi, Deputy General Secretary, NDC, and Deputy Director of Operations Presidency, which he also doesn't really like to be called. But the AM show is sponsored by Waylead Properties to provide you quality housing at an affordable cost and with a flexible payment option. Do stay with us. There's more on the show.
Welcome back. This is the AM show. Those were some interesting conversations that came your way courtesy of MFA Aditi. But let me tell you, you do know the AM show is proudly sponsored by Waylead Properties. We provide quality housing at an affordable cost and with a flexible payment option. It's been 2 long years since the raging waters from the Akosombo and Kpong dams swallowed homes and scattered lives across the North Tong constituency in the Volta region. Today, they endure scorching tents, unfinished houses, and promises that seem to wash away, just like the floods. Enjoy News' series, After the Floods. Fred Kwame Asare returns to the heart of the devastation, where hope still fights to stay afloat.
1 year after the floodwaters swallowed homes, many in Mepe are still waiting for a place to call home again. For Theodora and her family, the wait has been long and unbearable. Her family is one of over 100 households living in temporary UNICEF tents at 3 resettlement camps in the North Town district. Their mud house was swept away, leaving them with only what they could salvage.
Eta domalova ila de vieux yo lagbuye mo kule maglola de vieux kata onti rashes vai nye malegi e come face that kind of problem nyo amachichi yo kata mi lagbuye me vinya le mie si kwa ne mie vieux jedo mio to ko kom yo ga kokpo de vieux jiwo sien.
At Camp 1, a 10-unit structure built by the government sits empty. The flood victims say it was hurriedly constructed and unlivable.
Tu koyo kata na chicho, ona ho gbe blave. Kam yo me pa yo mi subo wude. Wo cho 2 weeks. Hey come to akwabo to ho la gama. Ko gbe ama wo cho 2 weeks je 3. Yo bi ava packing me. Abe household wa me wi aton mi ano ko gbe de kama. Gia emi ngwa gbala na ole be nuka ale obumi o won to no da mama odo ko ga profio kuri no soro na no koma wala temwa ama fa flami nwa nuka ko mi jele woji o e ka le fa family na na ke pomo fifia wa ga paki mi abi sadi na ne atro ho de kama jiko ku ya le ha man kala ho.
The government's resettlement project remains incomplete, but concerns are growing over the cost and quality of the new housing units.
They are putting up 20 rooms, which is 2 bedrooms, a kitchen, no toilet, no bath, small 6x6 porch. Do you want them to stay or to sleep? And they are laying it without mortar joint. When you push it with your hand, the whole thing will collapse. And this building alone, when I tell you the cost of it is reaching 1 million Ghana cedis, it's about 800,000 Ghana cedis for these 2 bedrooms alone. Why is the government wasting money in somebody's pocket? Please compensate the victims so that they go to their homes and leave the camps for you.
For these victims, it is not just about shelter, it is about dignity, security, and a chance to rebuild their lives. They are not asking for much, just a home that is safe, decent, and truly theirs.
No chonka na mi to mi afi gi na chi echo mi le mi nya be chi topo o mi la plani ba la poji atu afi mi a plani ba la poji atu afi ko va pa ki mi dade ko hela nu du la mi enti mi e de ka pomo.
Over 1 year after the floods, they are still waiting, but for how much longer? From Mefe in the North-Down district of the Volta region, my name is Fred Kwame Asari for Joy News.
And that is our latest feature after the floods. Now, after the floods, we have checked in to find out how people in those communities are getting by. We're going to have a conversation on the back of that. Joining us, we have Ahosu Amos Bolo. He is Assembly Member for the Mefe electoral area. He joins the conversation. We also have Fabian Kojo Mawulenu. He is PRO for the Mefe Traditional Council. Both of them join the conversation. Let me start with Amos for now. Hello, Amos. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning.
It's a pleasure having you join the conversation with us.
My pleasure too.
It's been 2 years thereabouts since some of these incidents. For you, what are your initial thoughts on how the situation has been handled?
My initial support.
Your initial thoughts.
I can't hear you.
Amos, I am asking for your initial thoughts on how this matter has been handled up to this point.
Okay, thanks so much for the opportunity. Yeah, initially, we all know that the VRA has started experiencing the Akosombo Dam in October, 4th thereabout, and up to 10th, we start realizing it along the banks of the river. So on the 11th of October 2023, the water started coming very high, and most of our homes has been taken away, including me myself. So we started raising alarm. Calling on government, philanthropists, supporters to come in, benevolent to come and support us with relief items and all that. Later on, government also came in, NADMO, the Levy, they also came to start crossing at the distance some areas, a path that links to St. Kizito, that is the safe haven. They started before that, up to date. But somewhere along the line, RCC, the Regional Coordinating Council, they were also here to come and put up a structure for us, of which the Western Housing Minister, Kojo Ponkuman, came in and cut short. So the RCC project, they started with, they promised us 100 units, but they started with 20. And as we speak, they haven't finished. It is on my land here, in Mefe here, that I gave them. They were molding the red bricks. They started the project at Mefe, Dover, Aveima, and Agbetipo. So with all this up to date, they haven't finished. They weren't able to finish the project. And the rooms are very small to the extent that And then the structure itself that they are putting up, if you look at it, I'm not an engineer, but from a layman point of view, I don't think that is a structure that's supposed to be given to people out of no fault of theirs that this happened. So we are still waiting. As at now, we are in limbo. We don't know what to do. The people are still living in the camps. We are suffering. Imagine close to 2 years this for you to be under this in a tent, not a temporary tent. You are there up to date, the heat and all that. And then now that the rain pattern has also set in, it's a whole lot of problems. Snake bite and all that. In the camp, we are suffering. The damage caused is still there. The psychological effect that it has given us is still there. A lot of properties were damaged, documents upon documents. Count it up to date. We are not seeing that much, because when the former president came here, that he told us that we didn't vote for them, but when it happens, we were calling on them. And I don't expect such a pronouncement to come from a statement. This is a national issue of which the World Bank and co will be coming in to come and render support and all that. So why are we still here up to date? Nothing has. We are not seeing that much. A whole lot of talk and all that. So what we are calling for now is we need compensation. Compensate us so that we will go back to our various homes. We will go and put up our structures. Maybe if the place is not good enough, we need to look for a suitable place to do it. But now in the land is also a problem. If you are not getting it that they can put up those housing units in one place for us, compensate us. If you take it and you didn't use it well, you don't blame anybody. We collected data. Mr. Fabian is on the line. MEFA has tried to develop an app through Morphin Kojobo. We collected the general data, and of which we can extract those damages out of it. The VRA, they do the same, NADMO. So let us now begin to be doing vivid comparison and look at the proper damage that were caused. Things that happened or that which happened, they can compensate us appropriately.
I'll be moving on to Fabian shortly, but I just want a clarity on something you said. Did you mention that there were 20 rooms that were supposed to be put up, but so far only 10 have been put up? Just clarify what you said there.
I mean, the clarification is we were promised 100 units.
100 units, right.
100 units, of which they started with 20.
Okay.
By RCC, the Regional Coordinating Council, up to date, as we speak. They haven't finished. They break like Christmas before getting to election. Up to date, as we speak, they are no more. They are not inside. They are in my house. I'm just there looking at the place. So if it is true, I'll tell you. So that's how it happened.
Which basically means that after the elections, nothing else has happened. After they broke,
nothing else has happened. They are just in their polytanks. They are with me here. The machines they are using to mow the blocks. Their 3-cycle is with me here. They are not in sight, and the people are still living in the camps. Imagine that, there's a trauma. We are suffering. Me, as assembly member, I was comfortably living in my house. Little did I know that it will cross the road before I realized just in 10 minutes it reaches my house. Imagine if it were to be in the night. Me, my wife, and my 5 children, we were all there. What are we going to do? So now that God, by the grace of God, we're able to move out to salvage some few properties. Still, the land is there. I don't have the financial muscle that I'm going to do whatever. And as assembly member, people are relying on me to also find a solution. Hey, I did not be in position. Somebody will not take me to battle. Later, a native of ours, Mr. John Gakbeto, this man, may God bless him, he called me, Bolo, come and stay in my house. It is in his house that I'm staying now. So today, if they sack me, where am I going? Including others. I am speaking on behalf of my other flood victims that were in the camp.
Right.
From the Abrakwa and his partners camp, a Holy Christ area there, the camp 1, camp 2 at the Gome, and a part of them too are at Aveima. As we speak. Imagine.
Right.
Imagine.
Let me bring Fabian into the conversation. Fabian, good morning.
Good morning to all your cherished listeners.
It's a pleasure having you. Let me steer the conversation from here. Two things. One, I want to find out what your reactions are. This prolonged, protracted, attempt at dealing with the problem for 2 years. No one would want to be in such a situation. And secondly, let me just sneak it in. Since you are with the Mepe Traditional Council, what sort of engagements have you had with the Regional Coordinating Council, with the DISEC? I say DISEC because it is a security matter. And maybe even the Member of Parliament in that area. So 2 questions. What you feel on the back of 2 years of practically nothing, according to Amos, and the coordination with some of these entities. Go ahead, Fabian.
Very well, thank you so much. For the first question, I would use one word to respond: neglect.
Neglect.
Complete neglect. How do we feel? We felt very neglected. We felt like we are not part of Ghana, or we non-Ghanaians. Even non-Ghanaians find solace with all of us here. But if we are the sacrificial lambs for the dam, that gives us a very sustained energy or power all these years. I'm not too sure this is how we're supposed to be handled. My earlier colleague made reference to previous administration, how we're described, except that I didn't want to go there. Everybody knows voting pattern in Ghana anyway, but I am restraining myself. So we've been neglected. I think we're not Ghanaians. We're in this country where I have carefully looked at situations where in other parts of Ghana, situations like this are given real national action, not attention. You can give an attention to something, but if you do not act, it is what it is. Then it's story. It keeps rolling. So we've been neglected. Bottom line.
You feel you're being treated unfairly?
Say it again.
Do you feel you're being treated unfairly? You mentioned other parts of the country. Does that mean you feel
exactly
you're being treated
I
differently?
appreciate the introduction of very much unfairly. Now, that notwithstanding, we have to appreciate the generosity of general Ghanaians, including all the media networks, your good self, and the multimedia engaging us this morning. That's what's keeping us going. Otherwise, I do not know, we're not having the courage to be speaking. So it is what it is. Now, national, different question, as in national, it's a national security issue. Look, let me use the one word and try to summarize this one also. There is no coordination. There is no proper engagement. If you properly engage, then we will coordinate, connect, and then deal with the situation and begin to find solutions. Clearly not. The previous layer, as in previous administration, I do not want to waste everybody's time, but it was completely non-existent. Because they will come to the news as leaders and politicians. Naturally, they will make the headline. Then we'll be reacting. It is what they told you, but people give us a little space to respond. It had never been, assuming it had been the case as they've always preached, we wouldn't be talking this morning after 2 years. So coordination is completely gone. If I find a bit of space in the current president's team that went round, at least they even mentioned that there did not be proper coordination and communication in engaging the communities and all that. It's a broad issue. So there's no coordination. So you cannot solve a problem when you do not understand the problem from the person who is suffering. So coordination is completely not there. Now, let me just throw light on one or two things. I heard my colleague talk about some few things that are very brilliant. In our part of Ghana, the land tenure system it's a family type. You come to a community, there are problems. You identify maybe a handful of people or many people whose house completely damaged. If you coordinate and engage us properly, we know those people. We have a comprehensive data. In fact, kindly share with me, or probably I didn't share those data already. I will share with you. You'll find a detailed, comprehensive data that Methodist Demand Association together with International Council gathered in real and in truthfulness. Honorable Bolo Ablosuda spoke to you. Cannot lie that his house broke down. You know how we live in a communal spirit. We don't fence our property. So you can't even lie when you do not have a house and you say, no, you can't even do that. But politicians would choose and pick their method, arrive, and do whatever they decided to do, and tell the whole world, this is the data we are working with data. If we are not careful, we'll create more problems than solutions. Now, we are having a big problem now in Mepe because one of our very generous citizens that donated his property to actually take care of some of the excess numbers. That place is a vocational school. The school has to come mainstream this academic year. He needed a property to open the school. Clearly, we needed to relocate those people. As I speak to you now, I'm steps away with the General Council going to meet the DCE to discuss some of these issues. Is it the time to discuss some of these basic issues? When people are sleeping and that things that are supposed to be used for just 6 months or some 3 months to be expired, and look at our temporary zone. The tents are in tatters. They are torn in pieces. We're in rainy season. These are people who have been living comfortably. Even if they were living in their handcuffs, they were very comfortable. They are not looking for the luxuries that our leaders have been living in. Is it too difficult to do? So I will use 2 words for response for the 2 questions. One, we've been neglected and have not been fairly treated. I think we're not Ghanaians. The second one, there's no proper coordination and engagement. We would have found solutions if we really mean business. Let me appreciate the fact that when the current president made a statement during his campaign, at least he set up, at least they made a budget-free allocation. He set up committees that have gone round. I was around when we made a committee actually doing a community visitation. We are yet to meet the committee to discuss the nitty-gritty, the data, and how they want to approach this whole compensation issue and trying to reassign, get our people back to where they belong.
This is heartbreaking. And you've just started talking about the very next bit I wanted to throw at both of you in respect of what is being done currently, because indeed we do know that the problem has festered. Fabian has spoken about the lack of coordination. But coming back to you, Amos, on this matter, a budgetary allocation has been made, right, in this year's, budget and dovetailing from there. Are there any boots on the ground? And if not, what are the moves to ensure that this current administration, as speedily as possible, gets boots on the ground to help your community?
Nothing has started yet. I haven't seen any sign. My senior man has just spoken. If there is an effort of such, and he will tell you that we haven't seen anything. So they captured it in the budget. All right, fine. That the people of the flood victims of Volta region are going to be compensated. So we haven't seen any sign yet, but if there's any, we will tell the general public to know that these are efforts that are on the ground. Yeah.
And so as of now, you are at the mercy of the elements, the heat, the rain, and everything, and you are basically helpless. That's what you're saying.
Yes, we are helpless. You know, recently there was a structure that was put up at the government camp there. I learned it, they say it's by the VRA. Imagine it's in the form of a classroom. So they give it to you. Not only you and your distant, maybe your family, but with others. Can your privacy be guaranteed? Your wife and children and all that. They did not even came back. And look at such a situation. What are they asking us? What do they want us to say? I'm affected. I know what I'm talking of. I say I realize it has come in just in 10 minutes at knee level. I have to be running just like that. Helpless. It's still fresh in my memory. What about others? Old ladies, old men, and all that. Children. Life is not normal. Economic activities has been affected. Farmland. Oh, can we cost it? How can they offer us? What can they do to us to satisfy us? Yes. Now it's a community that is close to the river water, and it's a farming and fishing community. We are not seeing job opportunities too. Like maybe they will come in and mechanize agriculture so that the youth in the area will stop migrating to other areas to seeking for greener pastures and all that. We are just here. Fishing activities, no. And so the entire community too, when you look at it, Valley Hill and all that, proper drainage system and all those things, we are calling for it. What are they telling us?
Amos, and that's why we are having this conversation. No one should have to experience what you are experiencing, but of course, we know why this spillage had to happen. Our hearts go out to you, and that's why we're also contributing by having this conversation to highlight your plight. Amos, we're grateful for your time. Ahosu Amos Bolo is Assembly Member of the Mepe electoral area. Let me cap off the conversation with Fabian. So, as PRO for the Mepe Traditional Council, you have had these engagements with the powers that be. What is next to remedy the situation? That's how we're capping off the conversation. Fabian, final question to you.
Very well. Let me just use a second to just make just a correction. I'm the chairman of Mepe Development Association.
Right. You're the chairman of the Mepe
by the Traditional
Development
Council in
Association.
1955. So we work with them and for the community. So thank you so much. PRO is in order, but just so let me just put it in perspective. Thank you so much. The few steps that we needed to take, as I earlier indicated briefly, the current president's team went round. What we needed to do is to engage that team and the committee. To do so, as I speak to you this morning, in the next few minutes, we're having a meeting with the DCE and then move with her from that level to the MP and the committee to understand the real protocol. Because we just saw the report in the media. What all that means, and trickles down to us here struggling, we do not know. So I want to believe that in the next few days, we can have details of this conversation. But for now, I would want to indulge the committee working around this time so that we're able to get the details. And I can assure every Ghanaian and every listener and our community and others that have suffered for this delay, not only the citizens of Mepe, that we would be in the forefront, just like you, the media, assisting us, to make sure that at least these people have basic access to their own life as it used to, if it cannot even be improved. So this is all I want to say for now.
Fabian, thank you so much for joining the conversation. So those who joined the conversation, Fabian Kojo Maulenu, he is actually chairman of the Mepe Traditional Association, I believe, as he put it. And then we also had Ahosu Amos Bolo. He is assembly member of the Mepe electoral area. Let's move on from this critical issue to talk about another crucial issue, our health. Some of you sometime last week went to various public health facilities and you were not able to access healthcare because of that strike by the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association. Well, today, my colleague Collins Frimpong is standing by at the Adabraka Polyclinic, and he's going to be telling us what the scenes are as this strike endures. Though the National Labour Commission, the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission have spoken to the issues, and the NLC has said this is illegal. Collins, if you can hear me, what is happening right now at the Adabraka Polyclinic? All right. I'll try to get my colleague Collins Frimpong on the beat in just a bit. But like I made mention of, it's been a tricky week or so, few days, for those who, go to some of these public health facilities to get health care. It's been problematic. We'll try and connect with Collins Frimpong, and as and when we get him, we'll bring him through to share with us what exactly the scenes are like at the Adabraka Polyclinic. But for now, get ready for the 7th Ghana Football Awards. It's slated for June the 14th at the Palms Convention Center for a night of excitement, glamour, and the celebration of Ghana's finest football stars. Let's unite the nation once again through football. The Ghana Football Awards is a Football Impact Africa initiative, and it's powered by Activate 360 and supported by the Multimedia Group and A&E Mediacom. Sponsors include NASCO, FCM Travel Destination, Avantgarde, Shell, Safari Valley Resort, and don't you forget, it's all about the Ghana Football Awards, celebrating the stars of our passion. But let me also tell you about the Chartered Institute of Human Resource Management Ghana, which presents the CIHRM 2025 conference between June the 18th and the 19th, 2025 at the Alisa Hotel here in Accra. The theme is Regulating HRM in Ghana, Standards, Ethics, and Sustainability. Conference rates for members, 3,200 Ghana cedis, for non-members, 4,000 Ghana cedis, and for student members, 2,000 Ghana cedis. Register now via the CIHRM website or @CIHRM Ghana on Facebook, LinkedIn, and on X as well. If you'd like to call to make your reservations, you can call 0243 278 694. Alternatively, you could call 0208 112 64 for group registrations and discounts. CIHRM, transforming work and workplaces. And having spoken about that, I'm sure you're also thinking in these days where, one of the major things everybody wants is a home. Are you looking for a home in a prime location? Well, Nestus Homes has got you completely covered. Our properties in Tema, Community 26, just behind the Palace Mall, offer a serene atmosphere, easy access to transportation routes, and social amenities as well. Off-plan prices start at $35,000. Reach out to us today on 0531 014 440 or 0531 014 447. You can also visit our website at www.nestus.com.gh. And Nestus, remember, is spelled Nestas. Finally, I'm going to be telling you about water. And of course, once you have that home, you need water to keep the home running. Do you know the secret to real water storage? It's actually silly simple. If your tank doesn't have the tortoise on it, it's not the correct tank. That's right, the Tortoise Tank Syntex tank is the champion of water tanks. It is strong, it is durable, it is built to handle our Ghanaian weather. So rain or shine, Syntex tank has your back. So my people, take a step outside. Your office, your home, just go outside. Check your tank. If it doesn't have a tortoise on it, it's time to upgrade, scale up. Join the Syntex Tank family today and enjoy water storage that's tough like a tortoise. You can reach them on 0244 335 168 to buy now or find one of our 400 agents nationwide. You can also shop online at syntexgh.com. Syntex Tank, strong, tough. Do stick and stay with us. We'll be back in a bit with more action on that conversation I just spoke to you about. How are ordinary members of our community, our society, coping at our public hospitals? We'll be back with more.
Welcome back to the AM show. Time now for trends, and Jackie, one of my favorite girls, is here, and of course Derek as well here to bring us what's happening in the trends. But first, let's bring you up to speed to this Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences Occasional Lecture 2025 iniquities of inequity in our Santa Claus democracy. Mr. Yao Nsako would bring that as well, and we'll bring you details of it. It's happening on the 19th of June 2025 at 5:30 p.m. It will be on a Thursday, so you don't want to miss it. The venue is Kwame Nkrumah Auditorium. You really don't want to miss it. The numbers and every information that you need is on the screen. We'll keep it there for a while so you can write the numbers out. The theme as well is there. And really, are you ready to dream, dare, and deliver in the world of IT? Look no further than Jackson Institute of Technology, JIT, the only NIIT authorized training center in Ghana. At JIT, we provide world-class IT training for individuals and corporate organizations, equipping you with industry-relevant skills in software development, cybersecurity, networking, cloud computing, artificial intelligence, digital marketing, and more. We offer globally recognized certifications, practical job-ready training, and flexible hybrid learning options, which allows you to study online or on-site. Our expert instructors ensure hands-on learning experiences that prepare you for success in today's digital world, conveniently located on the Ring Road near Circle, in the heart of Accra's Central Business District, and in Kumasi at Jackson Educational Complex HQ, Idrasi near KNUST. JIT provides easy access to students and corporate clients. Our state-of-the-art auditorium is also available for corporate events, seminars, and training sessions. You can, of course, send them a message or call them now on 059-699-6037 and 059-699-6038. Last number, 055-271-4635. You can also visit them on their website as well, www.jit.edu.gh. JIT, your gateway to a thriving IT career. Time now for the trend. Man, Derek, you look like the Bank of Ghana.
Really?
Yeah, governor. Like honestly,
man,
that's
thanks.
a very nice outfit.
Thank you, MF.
The governor of the Bank of Ghana?
Absolutely.
Wow. Then I'm sure people told me the governor of the Bank of Ghana. Man, MF, thank you. Jackie, take it away.
All right, well, good morning. It's Monday and you already know what time it is. It's time for In the Trends, and we are back to help you recover from the weekend's digital roller coaster. I'm Jacqueline Ansama Yeboah.
Of course, I like to call her Jackie. My name is Derek Elom Levy, and trust us, we serve you what's hot on the timeline. We don't disappoint. From campus confusion to international tension, it's been content overload. Across the globe, there's some bromance between Elon Musk and Trump. We'll serve you that story as well.
Well, but not all the stories have been messy.
And of course, speaking of viral wins, we'll bring you a very interesting video of the day where a child and a pastor go at each other.
So whether you're in traffic, at work, or recovering from too much jollof over the weekend, we've got you covered. So let's scroll what has been trending together.
Great. Our very first story is the story you see behind that, which is government postponing the Dumsor levy rollout after pushback from COMAC.
Yeah.
Guess what? After the e-levy, when Ghanaians have, recovered from that horrible nightmare of the 10%, the tithe we're paying to government, the NDC government, which scraped some tax and, of course, scraping the e-levy, we all thought, oh, we're going to see some light. Especially when they have dropped, prices of transportation, fuel, the dollar is doing well.
The dollar has been stabilized and all that.
Charlie, from nowhere, we see Brugajang bang. Which is what? The government introducing a Dumsor levy.
Yeah, for short, D-levy on social media.
D-levy. A 1 cedi tariff on every 1 liter purchase of fuel. Yeah. Social media definitely was very crazy about this. And guess what? COMAC as well believes that, Charlie, you can't ask us to drop prices of fuel, and in the next week, you're asking us to,
we are adding 1 cedi to the liter.
Of course, social media definitely got opinions on that. Jackie Ramit.
All right. So Yusuf says that a postponed crime is still a crime. They should abolish it rather than shifting it to another day. Kwame Ejekum says that it is better they listen to Ghanaians because MPP didn't lose power just because they have spent 8 years, but because they didn't listen. And Kwame Richard says that this thing will end up like e-levy. When we said we didn't want e-levy, they changed the implementation date and they were going around giving lectures. Yes. So everybody has been talking about that, especially as you said this morning.
Yeah.
It's been postponed to next week, Monday.
Yeah.
So,
in fact, GRA was supposed to do the collection, of course, the implementation today. Yeah. But, looking at the pushback and all of that. MFA, You have been in this country where e-levy was introduced. You saw Ghanaians fight it. There was a cake that was cut to celebrate it. In fact, it's part of the reasons why the MPP was ousted of power. What do you make of D-levy?
Honestly, let me start with the e-levy because I learned a term that says "brefie beji." If you want somebody to send you money, they say, "Oh, brefie beji." Yeah. But I mean, having a conversation with stakeholders today on the show, I seem to be understanding why. My only challenge is that it feels like we're pouring water in a basket and that will be leaking because the big challenge is really ECG and on the value chain, the factors that will contribute to us, even if we made money to solve the problem. I'm thinking, how about we nip the problem in the bud before we make money to sustain it? But I mean, hey, it's like once you drive, you have to pay.
Wow. Yeah. It kind of makes, I sort of understand the government because, you know, I mean,
wait, you're understanding the government?
No, Jackie, you know, they're trying to help us. For the people,
I know the comment section, they are definitely coming for you. Because what I saw this morning.
Jackie, I get it. But I mean, the Honorable Minister Abu Jinapad made it very clear to us that the energy sector is really struggling. Yeah. Is it that we pay that levy or go back to doom? So, MFA, would you prefer?
No.
Man, one city.
No.
I mean, of course, another story that made the headlines is UG's Pent Hall Week. Yeah. I am a Legon boy. I completed Legon in 2020. And of course, when we were in school, Pent Hall Week was the biggest.
I know, right?
I mean, it's not.
I didn't go to Legon, but I know when I was in Winneba, whenever it was Pent's weekend, everybody wants to travel from whatever campus they find themselves in to be in Accra for Pent Hall Week.
Yeah. Of course, there were a lot of stories, controversies. One of them being a boy going to steal. And another boy said, Hans for touch up. So Hans touched the boy. Let's see a wrap of all the stories that happened during the Pent Hall Week at University of Ghana. We'll bring you the comments after that.
Well, today is a new day. Give thanks to life. All praises to the Lord.
So, and then be happy for the people who succeed. Cause everything that you wish for them, the same you receive. Karma is a man you can't deceive. Success is a state of mind, don't be cut up. Hey, no matter what you do, no matter what you say, we are still but for a while time.
Hey, let go. What you say to Tom Scott?
Yeah. Manusa. What's it energy, hey. I can't afford you, I'm a worker, baby boy. Hey. When I'm going to get top, I have to see a guy here. The moment he and his young woman, to be a bit in the house, and we are.
Now, Charlie, I've not seen somebody grinding to a rap song.
I know, right? I was like, because most songs, they are not like the usual R&B or Afro beat and whatever.
Yeah,
but rap
boys
song
will definitely take advantage of the situation. Jackie, run me through what social media saying.
All right. So Larry says that, so make I pay school fees plus accommodation with my own money, then you go lock me outside like I misprep for SHS Vim. That was the video you saw where the students were standing outside because they got locked out of their halls. Yes, after they went for the Pent Hall Week. And Crucial says that, I should say electronic gates day there where everybody go pass through one by one. That'd be why them there outside like that. Yeah, so that was comments on that video. And Cyril says that next time if they go out, they'll come back early. Cyril, this English there. Next time they went out. Anyways. Yeah, so Youngest also says that people always pick the wrong places to steal. How will a normal human being think he'll steal at Pent and multiple hands no go touch them? No go touch So last comment here, Fleet says that thief 2 days inside the beat it no easy. But you know the beatings, people are saying that beatings is like DB beatings. It's not like the regular street beatings that you get. Because they were not really DB, I say soft. But you know what in the street.
Man. MFA, I don't know if you went to the University of Ghana, but what do you make of Pent? Oh, sorry.
But I'm pretty sure you might have heard of it. Pent.
If there's anything I recall, it was Michael Papani Ashali, what he went to do at Pent Hall.
Man.
If you want to do an interview, maybe we are expecting the story today.
On our page, we're still waiting for the answers.
Great. Let's take it to our very next story. What is the story you see behind me? Court acquits alleged accomplice of Atai after 20 years in prison. Guess what? The popular and renowned, I mean, more like the
It looks like he was even in prison for more than 20 years.
Yeah, more than 20 years. In fact, some reports say 23 years.
Yeah.
And this guy is not Atai. We're not talking about Atai, but we are talking about somebody that they all purported to be the mechanic
of Atai.
To Atai. If you know the story of Atai, Atai didn't start off as an armed robber.
Yeah.
He started off as a driver, a taxi driver. He was doing his rounds. Then one time, the boys moved to him like, oh, Charlie, you're a very good driver. Why don't you drive us when we go and make the mission? You know, you
also get your cuts.
Man. So he started driving armed robbers to scenes to commit the crime. Then guess what? He graduated in life.
Yeah, Charlie, he wanted to get the bigger cuts.
Man, he wanted to roll with the big boys. He wanted to bum them. And so he now started robbing. And growing up, I heard Atai, big guy. But his mechanic, who didn't have anything to do with the issue, was put in prison for 23 years.
Yeah.
It got social media really buzzing. More like, Charlie, the man just wasted his life. And it turns out that he didn't do anything. It was false.
Yeah, false accusation.
And 20 years, Jackie, I cannot imagine 20 years of my life.
No, imagine someone wasting your time. You know that thing where maybe you are going somewhere and I waste your time for a few hours. How does it even feel? Before we even go to the comments, how does it even feel? Someone wasting your time for even like an hour, how does it feel?
You know that time is money.
Yeah.
And I really don't like to be wasted. But this is just a reminder that our laws really work, no matter how slow it would be. If the criminal laws didn't operate the way they operated, I bet you there'll be more people in prisons than we see.
Yeah.
And when a person is acquitted, it really does not mean that they didn't commit that particular crime.
Yeah.
It really will mean that the crimes or the laws under which they were prosecuted maybe didn't find him guilty.
Yeah.
And so while we recognize that the justice system is quite slow, it just it gives a lot of faith as well that if you follow through keenly, it may be late, but you just might, receive some justice at some point, no matter how small it is.
Sure.
But Charlie, on a real, when I saw his video, when I saw him, I thought he looked really handsome.
I was telling everybody in the newsroom this morning, the man looks really handsome for someone who had been in prison for so much long.
Jackie, social media definitely got opinions on that.
All right, so the first comment, Saved by Jesus, says that wasted his 23 years for nothing. Charlie, the prosecutor should be jailed and the judges who handled it punished, not gonna lie. And also the Frederick says that I'm happy for the family, we thank God. And the other comment here says that it's very sad and unfortunate. How many inmates are innocent in there now? Wasted 23 good years. Where was due diligence before being jailed? He must sue Ghana. Hey, he must sue Ghana.
People make the point that if he really wants to, as MFA mentioned, sometimes the process of justice can be expensive. And this is 23 years of somebody's life, Perhaps if he wants to take it up, let's see how it goes.
Sure.
Another story that definitely made the headlines is the story of Cheddar's bodyguard. And Cheddar, of course, was a running mate and flag bearer for the new force. Charlie reached the point where we all thought that the Max, Jan Saliko, the Max. Which is Cheddar, was going to be the president of Ghana.
The big sis.
Of course, the big sis.
Yeah.
He never made it. But recently he was, at a funeral.
That's the big funeral currently happening now, the Mamponhin's funeral.
Yeah.
They are not even done yet. It's still ongoing.
It still continues. And even before I bring you the juice, look at what the bodyguard did at the funeral.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I sincerely apologize to everyone, from my boss to the victim, to whoever get offended about my actions last night or yesterday. I sincerely apologize. And I'm under a course now, like I'm running a course now. Hopefully I'll come out with good behavior next time, and I really apologize to everybody.
Now, some people
actually, there are lots of things running through my mind.
Man, I think that, of course, is very uncalled for. The fact that you're a bouncer or bodyguard, so what would you do for some of us who are slim because you have the big body?
You just... Man,
That's not right in any sense. But of course, we like to applaud good behavior, which is he admitting that he faulted and of course came out to apologize. MFA, if this were your brother...
She has a lot of things to say, the way that she was looking at me.
Man, would you just let it slide because, man...
No, me...
Imagine that's your father. That's a grown man.
My brother or my father can be fine for being beaten, but me, I cannot be fine for that assault because I'll be emotionally broken.
Man.
Yes.
And guess what? They invited him. We never know which, if perhaps an envelope got to
You know that's a Yajiska.
Yeah.
No wonder, boy.
That's all I know.
So, of course, social media feels that, hey, I mean, we all know that Cheddar is quite rich, and so he doesn't want to do anything that would taint his political ambition. And so he got his guy to apologize.
Yeah.
And of course, they made a very amicable, you know, reunion sort of with a guy.
Ended it with a hug.
And then with a hug. So,
yeah.
you know,
but let's see what you all have been saying. So Abna says, oh, what you feed do lead to internal bleeding, because he hit him like that. I was actually shocked when that happened. And Charlie, so if Cheddar had won, and Ghana bet than a WrestleMania Royal Rumble 2K25.
I'm serious, because these are the people you are calling to vote for.
Yeah.
Last time you do a chikaka, oh,
hey, WrestleMania.
Chairman, you know, man.
Kasha. Now, Megro says that cash out allowed, Chairman Ajiska, just as you've been saying. Everyone is saying that, for this thing to happen and for this man to be hugging Cheddar's bodyguard, David, Chairman Ajiska.
Perhaps the guy has been given some good money. Oh, my boy, this story. Donald Trump, of course, the big boy in town, the president of the United States, and his best friend fell out.
Yeah.
We've never seen it before. The guy who campaigned for him, the guy who gave $1 million per voter. You know, to people to go and vote. And there's a guy that when Trump, assumed office, he got him, gave him a lot of deals. In fact, he was the head of the Doge, mission, which is more like Ghana's all around, you know, cleaning up some financial discrepancies that happened, you know. And of course, it got social media really talking. They both came at each other. Jackie, what did social media say?
Yeah, just a couple of comments. Richie says that billionaires fight is not a fight, so it's just an argument. It's not a fight, please, it's an argument. And Kiampuma says that Trump is like a cult. No matter how you view him, they're going to love him regardless. This man has been through hell and still survived to become the president. Like him or not, he's loved. Never play with such a person. Let me get one last comment here. Easy Soda says that it looks just like the influence of Elon Musk into Trump's governance is slowly falling off. So people sharing their thoughts on this bromance, the fallout of these two big people. Yeah.
Man, that has been in the trends. With me, Derek, and of course, I like doing it with this pretty lady. This wonderful lady. Nana, sometimes you see her very prim and proper in the studio, but if you see her location, and now she's fighting with demonstrators and things. Really? Like, trends with me, Derek, Ella, actually be with
Jacqueline Asma here, boy.
Beautiful MFR. Oh. Very exciting having you. Please take it away.
I really love it with you both here.
Yeah, we got it.
We're starting the week very well. But you, Jackie, I'll see you. I'll join you.
Definitely.
For our showbiz. But before we wrap the show, here's a birthday message, and this is very detailed. It says that when I met my Elsie, she responded to my princely moves and became my princess. In marriage, she metamorphosed into my sugar. And when the love indeed caught my tongue, it transmogrified to Sue. Mina Bopo, Sugar Elsie, Ochidako, a.k.a. Mrs. Labby. Chop your 45th birthday knowing that Sugar Ray Labby loves you. Hey, may peace overwhelm you, envelope you, and overshadow you in graciously anointing way. Blessed, glorious birthday, 45th birthday. We love you. Hey. Wow, happy birthday to you. But that will be all for the show, but we cannot leave without bringing you a fall. But all right, so there's another birthday wish. We're just going to be sending you that. But while I wait for that birthday, okay. Oh, my darling Mabel. My darling Mabel Domiti, happy birthday. If you see all the nice graphics, definitely from Mabel, such a sweetheart. May God bless you and increase you. And that'll be a nice way to wrap the show. But coming up next is Ghana Grows, Changing Narratives, brought to you by MasterCard Foundation in collaboration with Springboard Show Foundation. My name is Emefa Akosiadete, and I did this with Benjamin Akakpo.
Sanka nya adwuma ya medwumi ho be hye mi na ya de ameti fia me ja schoolnden kasa mre ma wa mama brabo aye basa
Babu na mo Ghana no me say o say adwuma no de o sha ase a e ya na enye easy but usi wa dream beside no be ye nko ade a obeye. Me, Ahen Frank. Me tell me a me pama deal shop. Me say fashion designer adwuma we ase no. Mfie be nwotwe eko mfie duni. Ye wo me wo wanchi kurum ha. And na me fada ete Accra. Obefa me free ha say de me ko Accra. Nti ete na Accra. Nti hona me share me school ase bibia. Ase me papa na me gya aware. Aware gya ye ni mu na me ba wanchi back. Ba wanchi no. Ase na abrabo no ye ne ho style bi zina wo se me mpa bibi nye ana me so na adwuma na wo mani so kakra sa metimi aye ana eba se me se adwuma na se nti eba ne sa no na me wo ska kakra bi wo ho a metimi dia sa na me koto hand machine e de sa ase me se adwuma na se no challenges ne na nye easy if you say na be den kra so bi hu se do ade pam no ekoyi me sa ase no me de mabusuafo ne sa ase if say na me say that ni me mugidie sa me nya scatter machine so kwa na me nya ba bi kura metana kura de me machine kura sia ye adwuma nti na me tete a me ye adwuma
me be sun adwuma wa ha be 1.5 year bi na tema me yes me be sun adwuma na lady share me say aha master no nsa na adwuma efe me sun wa ha be boa me ene ma me ba ha se tema na me tifie no ene sisi a me sun adwuma ni du fem bebre aba mama hu nie ma so bebre
oba ye hu ye ontimi chicha de ade no kra ma na ontimi pam but say me ba ha me so no ankasa ontimi chicha e pam ntimi ka say aboa na nkola no na nkola no so ye serious e wa adwuma na omo ye no
me hu so obi pam e sha atade me tumi hu style esi twitwa ne kwan wa fa so e be ya atade nyina
adwuma no eboa me wo mabrabo mu e ma metimi twitwa me ho nketenkete wo niema bi mu na me ye first born metimi hwa nwa na mketo wo mu wa achi kakra
se asem sifia na ye hia bibia ye frɛ no esan se me nua opamade ni nti no me fa made fa nkomo obi wa bra me nua yo ho no nti aboa me bebre me ka se mboa me na me boa
ana wanti mpata mu so no fa so mo nya firi me ho ye adwuma na me ye ana me se adwuma na ye firi nti tem bia mo nya ntare fa ye den ese my apprentice ne so no so far make us na omo ye 5 2 upon omo ho ana isa aka 3 2 na omo pon omo ho no ba akokwa de o chen me say me si chain adwuma ni ntino wa nya benefit ni mo o chen me kra you say me customers ni me be 500 kra de no bro endorsement ntimi check me customers
na de permiti obi apenasem osan pamade a serious wonanim eni ntitan bia customers bebre ne ba na akwem
Ghana Grows ya damasepa wo adwuma mo ye ho enye Ghana Grows anka nyina ebi kra hu ye kra se yeso yese ba ebi kra se ye adwuma ti edamase e wo adwuma pa mo ye mo nkoso ana mo wa youth nsa
o me ka che me bra se ye danase me se ni nkran se ya me so nka ne ho ontimi nya adwuma no endretri e mama nsan enhu ne nimpa oyi
mani so adi hu na da manim ye se me pese me mama madwuma me ye no enko nanim enfiri Ghana na enko wiase afanan ba bia your friend me Ahen Frank me na me ye boss wo adwuma yi mu Ghana Grows Hope Day
Ghana Grows Hope Day.